What is going on, everybody? It is episode 192 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Happy to be back with you this week.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit angry, but I'm trying to suppress it.
Did I need to ask you what you're angry about?
I feel like, it's starts with C and ends in art.
Okay.
Let's just not address the controversy and let's just, move on.
We will move on
It's
from
fine.
it. We have a guest host today. Would you introduce yourself, please?
What's up? I'm Taylor, and I am happy to be here yet again. Hope you're having a good afternoon or whatever time you're listening to this.
Covering for Dane, who is out not feeling his best today. So
Yeah.
how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's a Monday,
It
but
is.
Can't really complain.
The funny thing is we got like a bunch of like more serious topics to talk about, one of which we pushed from Friday's episode because I just didn't feel like it was something that fit with the tone of what we were discussing on Friday. So the stuff we're going to get into today is we're going to talk about Alexa Nikolas. I went on a bit of a rabbit hole looking into her, a new group that she's running called Eat Predators and their relation to the entertainment industry and kind of all of the awfulness that goes on there. We're going to talk about the absolutely heartbreaking 20-minute video of Britney Spears that I got sent a bunch of times this weekend, but wasn't really all that interested in it because I haven't found the Britney Spears thing as compelling as other people have, but ended up being quite, my heart was kind of broken.
I don't
watching
find it
this.
as heartbreaking, actually, because it just shows that she has more independence and she's lucid and she's reflecting on the past
Yeah.
and not denying it anymore.
Yep. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Sydney Sweeney and the absolute stupidest controversy in the history of controversies, and I kind of mean that. It is absolutely ridiculous. We got that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you ladies are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We are ready.
Taylor, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So it says, ex-Nickelodeon star leads protest outside of studio following allegations of abuse at the hands of higher-ups. This is an actress named Alexa Nikolas who was in a show called Zoe 101, which, believe it or not, I never watched. Because,
I watched it, though.
I
It
was
was
a-
part of my generation of kids' entertainment.
I was far and away past this, but this goes far beyond generational entertainment and just to the core of what Hollywood is, which is very, very, very dangerous for you to involve your kids with at any level, at any time, at all, right?
Do you think that Alexa Nikolas chose now to protest outside of Nickelodeon because of the timing of Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, or that she was planning this anyway?
It seems like, from what I gather, she had been protesting fairly regularly in relation to the music industry. The stuff with her ex-husband, who she has alleged abuse from and grooming, a musician named Milos, who I've never listened to, but I don't listen to as much EDM as I used to. So they seem to be focused very heavily on the music industry, which makes sense given we actually made a comment the other day. I made a comment on here. I said, isn't it weird how, like, given how weirdly puritanical Hollywood has become, it seems like the music industry just gets left alone. That's because they just ignore it. They just don't care.
The interpersonal problems, the same interpersonal problems permeate all of entertainment,
Yeah.
but it's enforced differently in different
Industries.
parts of that. Yeah, in different industries.
I feel like it's become such a relevant issue in the child star and like Nickelodeon, Disney kind of stuff that goes to the forefront a lot of times.
So what was most interesting was that her major gripe with her new organization, which is called Eat Predators, is she's talking more music.
Is it an organization, or is it just the title of, like,
at the very least,
some kind of nebulous project that she has,
Like a movement.
project? Yeah.
supported online?
So that actually, I think, is her biggest hurdle right now, is she has to work against the machine, which is she's launched a Patreon to
Yes.
do this, when there would be far more benefit from starting an actual nonprofit organization and looking to develop funding similar to one of the other activist groups. Like, and I make the joke all the time, like, look, it's not enough to just not be an activist. You have to be actively anti-activist. I have my own issues with what Hollywood has done to turn activism into a trendy way to stay relevant. I don't necessarily think that's what's going on here.
Well, when you hear that Alexa Nikolas is an actress turned activist, that already automatically turns a lot of people off, because it can mean so many things, and usually it's that they've picked a pet issue to gripe about and not actually speak out about something that personally happened to them.
I was just going to say, if the issues with their own experience, like, I can understand saying this is what I'm going to focus on because this is what I actually went through.
And she mentions Dan Schneider in here, which is interesting because given what her allegations are against her ex-husband and the abuse at the hands of people in the entertainment industry, which is very much centered around the concepts of grooming, sexual abuse, her issues with Dan Schneider were essentially that he yelled at her a lot, and
which he is known to do, so I don't doubt that those allegations are true. But I think it's especially egregious just because she was a child at the time, and there were other adults around Dan Schneider who enabled his behavior, at least his aggressive, his verbally abusive behavior, because he was so valuable to the company.
Then do we just go to the fact that maybe kids, like, we're just in a world where 13-year-old kids should not be working with adults because it's not normal for 13-year-old kids to have jobs? His argument, how he's behaving, would be just considered a workplace argument amongst coworkers, or I guess depending on.
If Dan Schneider were in a normal corporate environment outside of the entertainment industry, his behavior wouldn't have been tolerated.
At the executive level, I don't know if I believe that.
Well, if he were at the very top and he were vital to the company's success, okay,
which he is. On the projects that he is, you would consider him to be the top level of that project, right? So he's being treated like an executive, like a CEO.
I just think, like, people have been fired and penalized over less.
Yes.
A lot less.
So for this, the allegations are different, which is why it's interesting that she's going and talking about Nickelodeon, but she's been protesting all summer at concerts and stuff like that. What's interesting is I have the page pulled up here for their Patreon, and what we discussed earlier was messaging. We have her tone in the messaging has been different from various. I watched interviews that she did with somebody named Sloan. That's not a YouTube channel I'd ever watched before, where she comes off a lot more.
She seems more personable.
Whereas the stuff that,
in a conversation,
yes.
But when it's like the video of her outside of the Nickelodeon headquarters, I think that the tone comes off in a way that it doesn't exactly draw enough.
I don't know. Sympathy is the right word.
It's not sympathy, but
you have to be able to personally put your message forward in a way
and
that
it needs to be really clear,
people.
really concise. Yeah. And this is a 15-minute long video, and it doesn't look professional. Now, at the same time, I said if you're doing the right thing, but in the wrong way, in an unprofessional or shoddy way, that's like ragtag looking, grassroots activism, maybe that adds to the authenticity.
Weirdly, I think it does.
Like PR-wise, but also, does that mean you're going to accomplish as much as you could if you went about it in a more calculated way?
It's a weird double-edged. It's almost like they're set up to fail, right? If it's done professionally, that usually means that it's been created and organized and engineered by the machine, as it were, by some
NGO.
Corporate some entity, which automatically turns people off because people can smell through, can see through inauthentic behavior or something that's corporately, or it's corporate and created, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's done in a ragtag way, it is a lot less effective but more authentic. So you fail almost either way.
I think that people are going to judge it and pick it apart regardless. But if it's important for somebody to get a message out or, share their experience, they just have to decide how they can do that the easiest and best way. There might not be that much thought into it other than just, I have to say this.
And Brett, I wanted to address the Instagram video because when your first impression of her was immediately like annoyance.
Yes. Yeah.
And it changed, but I want to know why, and I want to like show them.
Okay, hers wasn't actually what changed for me. It was she had this video, and guys, I'm not going to play it, but it's here on her Instagram page in which she goes through and they're talking about. Maybe we'll just play a
Nickelodeon as a child personally, and so I'm demanding that Nickelodeon starts protecting children and not the predators. How many predators? That's a heavy question, but we would like an answer to that. How many predators have been at Nickelodeon? How many kids have suffered harm from predators within Nickelodeon? First slime of the day!
The slime time thing. Also, this is a recurring theme throughout the video.
That is a recurring, yeah. And to me, the tone felt off. It didn't feel. I don't know what the word for it is. I really don't, and which is why I felt almost bad. But
if
it wasn't
you know
her.
where she starts naming names and pointing out very specific examples of executives in the company,
that's what I want.
Like, what were they, like talent managers
but even for
people
her,
on set.
She talks about being led to a student, like where like somebody was supposed to take her to.
She keeps her personal story extremely vague.
Maybe that's for me. That was my problem.
Declines to elaborate. I understand why. I understand what her motivations might be for not elaborating on what personally happened to her.
But if you're going to
obviously.
front a movement, it's almost a requirement that you do.
Can't. There needs to be a concrete reason. An impetus for like why you're doing this,
which is why we
make
felt
people understand
that the messaging is very haphazard for it, which, like I said, makes it feel more authentic but less effective than what it could be. But it wasn't her video at all that did that for me. It was the stuff about Demi Lovato being accused of or accusing someone of taking advantage of her when she was still working at Disney, and that person not being removed from the project. And I said, I made a comment where I looked at Demi Lovato's facial expressions while she was doing this. This is what it feels like to me, what it looks like when somebody's been abused.
Demi Lovato was on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper saying this, right?
And this here is what I imagine someone who has been in rightfully so. You pointed out, you said, look, you're kind of telling them how they have to react.
And I hate the term, but tone policing. It's. Yes. I mean, I don't mean to like accuse you.
No, I wouldn't have brought it up if it wasn't fair to at least address that I had made my own adjustments to my argument.
Just one other comment on Alexa's video on Instagram. What are you guys' thoughts on children being involved in this type of protest?
That is also a very. I mean,
there were a couple of kids, weren't there?
That's.
It must have been the children of other like protesters
like
who were there.
Their family members or something. But I wonder though, like how much of this can kids really comprehend, and is this something that kids should kind of have some innocence about?
Yeah,
they look pretty young. I feel like there are some statements being made in front of them that I would not say.
I always feel a little bit weird when a kid's holding a sign. I'm wondering if the kid knows what the sign means.
Yeah.
You know?
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be biased and say like, oh, that's only disturbing when it's a cause I disagree with. Because I agree with her
any
cause.
cause.
And then I feel
same.
like less uncomfortable with kids being there. But then if you think about the subject matter being addressed, I understand why that's weird.
Then the main question I have is this also something that needs to start at home? Like a big portion of all of this with all of these people is that the parents either don't know what's going on or they benefit from it, and there's just a lack of ability for. If we understand that the kids can't, that there is no power for the child when they sign these contracts to work for these major corporations. It's their parents signing the contracts. It's not them. Do we hold the parents more accountable, not just the executives and the slime balls as the scumbags of these companies, but the parents for in this day and age, is there really any excuse to not know how bad things are in that industry?
These days, now that social media is a thing, and I mean, not to endorse the whole thing, but Me Too happened. everyone knows that the entertainment industry is rife with, power drunk people who, if anything, like, they're unstable psychologically, but also there are predators in power in the industry. So, like, if you're a parent, you're kind of in the position of, like, selling your kid to them.
Yep. That's what it feels like to me, that the parents are literally...
You're pitching your kid to a company as a product
that will be, if not at the very least, be kind of had their childhood ripped from them at the very best possible outcome.
That was totally the situation with Jeanette McCurdy.
Yeah.
Like, almost like the worst example I've heard of it.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciate about her story, I think she's really brave to talk about it. It's messed up, but that she does hold her mom responsible.
Totally.
Because a lot of times the parents aren't mentioned and aren't accountable at all.
Exactly.
And I'd like to think that maybe they're unaware of how bad it really was for their kids, but it's hard to believe when in this type of industry it's kind of the norm for a couple of these networks.
Yep. So, I mean, we're going to talk about it further when we get into the next segment about parents and their children in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
But is there a way you see going forward that we could improve this outside of just not letting kids be actors? Like that's my thing.
But
just,
you can't.
I know
mean,
that's
children have always been performing. Like, that's been a thing since the very conception of the film industry.
There's absolutely exceptions of child stars who turn out to be pretty normal and seem to not be as negatively impacted by it.
Now, often that's because they had parents who were already in the business and they had the ability to protect them better.
Yeah, so I think kids need to be protected, whether it be by, like, agents that really are looking out for them, their parents getting really educated on how the business works.
And to be honest, there would be a lot of stories that you couldn't tell without children acting, like Samaritan.
I know.
You wouldn't have a Samaritan without a kid acting in it.
Which we are going to talk about in Podluck. Me and Mary watched
Yes.
Samaritan, and we are going to discuss it. Okay, so if we can't get rid of them altogether, if we can't get rid of child acting altogether and just make it animated, if we're gonna...
Well, even if you want to do that, which I'm not sure I do.
No, I don't.
The cat's out of the bag on that one.
Yep. So I don't know. For Nickelodeon is maybe the most interesting example to me, because like Disney as well, but these are companies that cater almost exclusively to content for children, which means that the performers are there's going to be an overwhelmingly large number of child performers. There should have been stricter, at least more effective measures in place to protect them. But as we know, they don't want to protect the kids. They want to protect the bottom line.
Yeah, and the risk of abuse aside, even, we see that the parents of child performers financially take advantage of their children, and there are laws to protect them against that, but then it still seems to be happening. And now that kids are on social media and they're like such a thing as family channels on YouTube, and
the family channels on YouTube,
kids are the money makers for their parents.
How do you feel about
a
family
lot of the
channels?
time? Like, there need to be new laws about it, but I think that's only going to happen once lawsuits take place, once these children who are exploited for social media grow up and realize that they had their image stolen from them.
Well, we haven't even seen the results of it yet, because it's still pretty new.
That'll take
I
decades.
assume that eventually there will be legislation about it.
I have no idea. That'll take decades to catch up. And then the landscape will have changed.
When I was a kid watching Nickelodeon and Disney, there was no, ex-Disney stars speaking up about being abused. That's all stuff we're seeing now. So, like, what's the industry like today? What stories are we going to hear in a couple more decades?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll continue. I found her interview, the 28-minute interview I found of her, very, very interesting. And calling out the music industry as a whole felt more up what she wanted to do. Like the Disney stuff, the Nickelodeon stuff felt like she was lending her voice to it, because what happened to her was in the realm of like being verbally abused is awful, but she wants to speak up for the people who suffered far worse than
Or
that.
whatever else happened to
Yeah.
her, if anything,
Yeah.
she's not willing to elaborate on it. So
Do you think she would?
it's irrelevant.
Do you think it would be more effective for her if she was more candid about what happened to her in that respect?
Well, it's like if you want to be a public figure who is like ex-child star, ex-Nickelodeon star, an activist against child predators, yeah, you chose publicity, so you kind of have to tell your story. You have
And
to tell your side of it in full, right?
To be fair, it might be a very difficult story to open up about, but
it's also
yeah.
difficult to be a public figure in her position.
Yeah.
So
or to understand.
you kind of have to commit fully
Thank
to
you.
whatever side you pick.
And
Yeah.
the biggest issue that seems to be pointed out by them is the concept of NDAs, which I would love to have somebody on the show like a lawyer, who could give me a more thorough understanding of how a child would be prevented from speaking about actual crimes that happened to them via
Yeah.
NDA, because that seems to be the number one thing that they talk about. But it seems more along the lines of the company will just bury them in lawyers, even if they sign the NDA, and even if that NDA is no longer legally binding because they're discussing a criminal act. Just the act of being just buried in lawyers' fees from this multi-billion-dollar corporation or multi-million-dollar corporation is enough to prevent most of them from speaking out, because it's just too much time and bother.
But even in her own case, the things that she reports happened to her were not crimes.
No.
It was just gross and immoral.
It
There's
reminded
such a thing as an immoral act that is completely legal.
It reminded me of Michelle Trachtenberg on the set of, I don't remember if it was Buffy or Angel, getting yelled at by Joss Whedon, and Joss Whedon was no longer allowed to be like alone in a room with her because she would like leave the room crying because of how he would treat her, how he would talk to her, because he would talk to the adult co-stars like that too, but they're adults. They're better
I guess
equipped.
they just see the child stars as adults too.
Yeah,
Or
they
they
have
just see him
They
as
don't
another
have
employee.
any distinction.
Yeah, if anything, they're not treating them with kid gloves per se, because they don't have the ability to, because they're first of all, they're making these multi-million-dollar productions every week. A lot rides on those things getting done. Their job, the jobs of hundreds of other people. That doesn't excuse the behavior, but it does make you understand why they're not seeing that person as a child. So why isn't there, I guess the person's their manager, their agent, a child advocate of any sort? She talks in there about how
The parents.
HR is really just there to protect the corporation, as we know. HR departments are basically there to just protect the company
any
from
company,
liability at
yeah.
any company, not just in entertainment. So it's kind of it's an interesting road to go down, because I can't think of many other industries where where minors and adults work together. Can anybody think of one?
I don't know.
Is that a thing anywhere else in
I
America?
mean, obviously in education, but
Yeah. But but they're not the boss of the children.
Yeah.
They're kind of the boss of the children.
know.
But does
I mean, if
anybody-
you're talking about power dynamics,
that seems to be a big topic for them too. And I fully admit to being turned off by
when I
any
hear the words power
Power
dynamic,
buzzwords.
it's starting to lose its meaning because it's used in so many different contexts that often it's just
It loses meaning. Because
it's
you
kinda
don't know how much of
spiraling
it
downward.
is. Well, is it even them not distinguishing all the time whether we're talking about somebody getting yelled at backstage? Where does there was something that they referenced in here where she says all stars who have ever felt offended deserve an apology. No, there's no way to gauge offense, not in legal terms. That's a lot different than having a crime done against
Yeah.
you. Anybody could take offense to anything. People probably take offense to stuff we say on this show all the time. That doesn't mean that we owe them an apology. And somebody that says something that I find offensive does not mean that they owe me an apology. So I find that that goes to the talk of power dynamics, that where does one thing end? Where does criminality begin? Or where does being offended or thinking something, what do you call it, an immoral act, but not necessarily an illegal one? Where does an immoral act end and a crime begin in this context? Which is why I'm always weary when they use buzzwords like that.
I mean, I can understand them saying both are abusive, but I think there's a big difference in yelling at someone and predatory behavior.
Even in the in Alexa Nikolas's case, if she were to take legal action at this point, she could sue for emotional damages. Or what if she had the angle that like she was kind of ousted from the entertainment industry at this point because of interpersonal relationships that she had with adults that went sour unfairly to her, then she has the damages of like all of the career opportunities she lost.
Yep,
Maybe.
exactly.
I don't think she's interested in taking that route though.
All right, let's do super chats.
Raising awareness, though, can be effective, and that seems to be what the goal is right now. But
she's doing that. I don't think she's doing that as much as she could be.
I also think that we are in a time now. Maybe this is my own echo chamber or bias, that I think there's a certain amount of people, regular everyday people, that no matter what are just sick of people of activism. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I feel like I look at it and
it all starts to blend together, even the aspects of it that are valid.
Exactly. So it almost does like the activism done in bad faith does a huge disservice to the activism done in good faith.
I think a lot of people become activists by accident, though. It's because you got to speak up about your experience knowing that it's meaningful. That's what happened to me. I never spoke up thinking I want to be an activist and hold a sign. I just realized overnight everybody viewed me that way.
Yeah, and then I think the people who do it in earnest get lost in the sauce of...
And it's mainly the actors. It's like, Evan Rachel Wood, actress and activist. I'm like...
Interesting combination when you say it like that.
Pretty much any of them could be called that if they felt like it.
I've been now. Remember, the other week I was telling you guys about how I was telling you about I have this thing where like I don't look up celebrities on Instagram because I don't want to know about their personal lives. I do it now all the time, but I've kind of learned to develop a kind of like a of course mechanism to it, like where it's like I look up every female actress that's ever been in a TV show, and they're all you could copy and paste most of their pages, and I think it's a lot of it is just people don't realize that outside of your work they don't have anything interesting to really say, so all they've got is politics and activism.
They play other people.
So
as individuals, usually I don't think actors are super interesting.
The ones that don't tend to post a lot of stuff. It's notices about upcoming projects, or it's hey, I did this interview. That's fine, but that's just an extension of their work.
But
other than that, you're just do you have a family? Do you have kids?
That could be stuff that you may not want to share if you have a big audience. There's probably a big value on privacy for people who are constantly in the spotlight. So I feel like we shouldn't be too hard on them.
No, I have no problem with not sharing that. I'm saying that they don't feel like they have any interest. Like, do you have any hobbies that you like to do besides acting, that you take pictures at your salsa dancing class? I don't know. But it feels like it always comes back to activism and politics because it just feels like the most natural thing for them to talk about, because maybe that's what they talk about in their private time.
Perhaps there's some pressure, too, if you have a big following, that at least in this today's climate, that you have to speak up about something.
Silence is violence, as they say.
Let's go to super
I think I hate that one more than any of them. Silence is...
Yeah, she was using that one, too, and I didn't like it.
Super chats.
Rega Tan said, I watched lots of Victorious and Sam and Cat in 2012. I never watched Sam and Cat, but I love Victorious.
I was too old for Sam and Cat and Victorious, but I did see Zoe 101 for a little while, and then I became uninterested because I was getting a little too old. But
I had to go back and rewatch Zoe 101 because I was too young when it came out.
One thing I think is really interesting about Sam and Cat is like how different of experiences the two stars seem to have had.
Because they wanted to... they were more supportive of Ariana's career than of Jeanette's for whatever reason. Maybe they just thought she was more marketable because she was a singer.
I don't know, but just the drastic difference.
That doesn't. I don't think that should mean that the co-star has to turn down opportunities.
Absolutely,
but legally, that is what she agreed to do.
It's pretty kind of crazy.
Rascal King said, "I am still the Rascal King."
How many exclamation marks is that? That's like 10 or 11. That's a lot of exclamation marks.
I'm very excited to be
the Rascal King.
Cleggy said, daily reminder to stream Only Ever Wanted by Timcast. Also, while you're at it, listen to Affirmation by Cleggy.
We will have to do that.
By
I've heard the
yours
first one.
truly.
I've not heard the second one yet.
Yesh said, Brett, I watched your old skate videos. Sick grinds, bro. Que pasa, Taylor? Mary, Mary, Mary. And then
Pasa.
car explosion
Macaré.
and a shopping cart emoji.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Tisk. I'm getting shamed once again.
They're
Bootless-
literally finger wagging you through
Yeah.
the computer.
And I thought I was the most moralistic.
Well, you're honest.
It's true.
Sure.
I'm cripplingly honest. I have a crippling amount of integrity. Bootless Regent said, in Beyblade lore, Moses splits the Red Sea with one. Wow.
I did not know that.
You ever played with Beyblade?
No.
Caper2X said, guys, you are highlighting the entertainment industry, but you must be aware this moral rot affects us from the highest levels of government. down."
Oh, absolutely. But that's why you tune into Timcast from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right over on timcast.com.
That's where they
if you
talk
wanna-
about that
If you want to
moral
hear
rot.
about that social, about
If
that.
you want to be black-pilled all day instead of just part of your day.
I don't want to be black pilled.
No,
all the time.
we're not black-pilling.
I think the Britney one is actually. I think you're right.
It's a white pill,
It is.
actually.
It is a bit of a white pill, especially her turning down Oprah because Oprah can kick rocks.
Frick Oprah. 1,000-Foot Deep End said, many problems involving kids these days stem from parents not being involved in their kids' lives in order to foster good communicative relationships.
Yeah, imagine like going beyond just letting like a tablet parent your kids, letting Dan Schneider parent your kids. That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. Don't do
Tablet
it.
parenting started with TV parenting. John Harrison said, Brett is wrong, saying there is no way to measure offense. They are measured in rees per minute.
There's a YouTuber named Anna, that Star Wars girl, who does a segment whenever she talks about people being mad at her, and she says "re." She rees it. It's so loud, my eardrums actually like almost shatter every time. So I imagine that as like the highest level of re when she's imitating the people who are always offended by her. So
Bad App said, hey, toots.
how you doing, Tuts?
Hey.
The question is, guys, do we want to do Britney next, or do we want to
Have an intermission?
have an intermission? Just get through it.
Did we were we gonna take a look at the dummy interview?
It was more just a backdrop in what we were talking about.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, it's that she talked about levels of abuse that had happened to her through Disney.
Yeah.
Nothing that would surprise anyone, but it should be shocking and surprising, but unfortunately, it's not.
How about we go to Sydney Sweeney and then we'll finish the
yeah.
segment with
That
Brittany.
one's interesting.
All right, we are going to do it then. We're going to, because we don't want to be all depressing all the time, we are going to talk about a story that is absolutely bonkers and how stupid it is. What about Chet? We could have talked about Chet.
Well, that would
always
have
up
been
for
too highly
chat.
Yes,
intellectual.
it would have. So it says, Euphoria's Sydney Sweeney faces heat for mom's party featuring MAGA-like hats and Blue Lives Matter shirts. This is not a fake headline. This is a real headline. Also, I have to ask, MAGA or MAGA?
I always
It's
thought
MAGA,
it was MAGA.
I think.
It's MAGA?
I like MAGA.
Or, and the real question is, are you dark MAGA?
Dark MAGA.
You're dark
yeah.
MAGA? I'm nuclear MAGA.
Okay.
That was the new level added after last
Turbo?
Yeah, after it's beyond. So it says Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney excitedly shared that she had thrown her mother a surprise hoedown for her 60th birthday and was quickly slammed for the customized "Make 60 Great Again" hats donned by guests.
That's cute. I mean,
know,
that doesn't
right?
even mean you like Trump. It's just funny.
This is the point I keep making. Nobody failed this culture harder than hipsters who were too weak to wear "Make America Great Again" hats. Ironically,
Sorry that a bunch of baby boomers decided to wear a gag gift at their friend's birthday party.
and it says Sweeney shared on her Twitter a heartfelt message, writing, "You guys, this is wild. An innocent celebration for my mom's milestone 60th birthday has turned into an absurd political statement." In images shared by her brother, guests of the party are seen wearing wearing hats that are apparently derived from former President Donald Trump's infamous MAGA or "Make America Great Again." The hats, which were frequently imitated, and that is true. There's like hundreds of
Yeah.
varieties of that hat. Was not intended to cause such an uproar, according to Sweeney, who wrote it is not the intention, and please stop making assumptions. This is the world we live in now,
I
guys. You
feel
can't
like
even, fun is no
you can't
longer
have
allowed.
an innocent hoedown with your family.
What is the world coming to when two male models
And
can't have a
Is
harmless
this in
gasoline
Idaho?
fight? Did you get that reference?
No, I
No.
just like the voice.
Nobody's seen Zoolander?
Zoolander.
Oh.
I've
Two
seen
male models in the
Zoolander.
harmless gasoline fight.
Okay. Yeah, now I know the reference.
In addition, one male guest was seen wearing a Blue Lives Matter shirt photographed by Sweeney's mother and grandmother.
Oh, how
and,
dare he.
And the funny thing is that, like, I have, like, for the thumbnail that I made for this video, there's some that were like criticizing her where they show the picture of her and her brother arm in arm and then they circle the hats on the people behind them, like, look at them.
Yeah.
What-
It's honestly a schizophrenic level of anger that they have, like making connections between things in the photo that aren't related.
Like
Well-
Drew Barrymore in The Rain.
Oh my god.
I mean, do you want to like get into
racist
that?
rain frolicking.
Basically, there, guys, to explain what we're talking about, there's a video of Drew Barrymore frolicking in the rain on TikTok and just laughing and having a grand old time. And then a TikTok creator reacted to that. She stitched that video and said that by frolicking in the rain on TikTok, Drew Barrymore opened the floodgates for people to disrespect and silence Black creators on the platform.
Because that
No idea
that's
why
totally
or how.
related. Yeah.
I tried to really give it my best shot and understand her explanation, but she didn't have one.
That was yes, it's the same
But
level
it's the
of-
same delusional.
when you listen to those videos and the explanations, I feel like I'm losing brain cells.
It's like
I'm
I'm
getting
waiting
dumber.
for her to get to the point,
Uh-huh.
and it never
the
happens.
point
Yeah.
never actually comes.
Yeah, and then it's the same. It's the exact same brain rot that led to this controversy over Sydney Sweeney's poor mother's birthday party getting scrutinized.
Yeah, I feel like also, why do people attack celebrities or public figures' families? Like, leave their families and friends alone.
Because of guilt by association,
Because
they
of-
are implicated by anything. Like a public figure is implicated by anything people in their personal lives do or say,
But that's like not the case,
which is
for everybody
untenable
else.
because.
Nobody.
Like
know.
I don't like if you heard what your like whoever you stan, if you're some kind of deranged Twitter stan, if you heard and saw everything that your idol does in private, I don't think that you would be happy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because they have projected their own views of the world onto this person and expect
It's
them
like
to
they
parrot them those
literally
views to the letter.
expect celebrities to be their messiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's like they can't just enjoy the art that they create.
Listen,
and then what they're saying is that she is like enabling racism or something like
Well-
and then what I hate the most about it is they're acting like bouncers for this exclusive club
Gestapo.
that everyone's just dying to get into when in reality nobody wanted to sit at your table.
Yeah.
No one was even interested in like being included by you.
Well-
I'm sure Sydney Sweeney doesn't care what you think
Also,
That's
it's
of her
another
terrifying.
mom's
thing.
birthday party. She doesn't care whether you find it acceptable, which is why she shared photos of it in the first place.
I'm glad she didn't like put out some sort of
Apology.
apology
Yeah.
and just
I hope she doesn't.
said this is, ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
think the whole like MAGA hat thing, it's such a well-known phrase that having a hat as some sort of spin-off of it doesn't even necessarily
It's a gag
mean
gift.
anything
Like,
political.
it doesn't mean
but
anything.
even if it was political, like what's the
Even
big
if
deal?
her family was the group of the most rootin' tootin' redneck conservative Trump supporters ever that you've ever met in your life, why does it matter?
Right, I think
Why does it personally hurt you?
But like what's even more disturbing to me than the whole like Trump derangement syndrome thing is that people have such a difficult time accepting that other people think differently than them.
Yeah.
And that's our whole world. We all get to have our own opinions based on our own experiences and the things that we've seen and the things we know. And why is one side so disrespectful of the other?
And they're alleging that Sydney Sweeney failed in that she hasn't called out her family members.
Because you're not allowed
called
to.
out.
No,
When in
I
reality,
respect her more for letting
maybe
her
she
family
shares
do what they
your
want.
same values, and she did call out, if you want to call it that, her family members or friends for having political views that she deems, despicable. Maybe she did in private actually talk to them about it, but you don't know, and I don't think you care either. You just want to castigate people, like ordinary people. Now, I don't want to say Sydney Sweeney's whole extended family is like the model of normality. Not normalcy, normality.
We're bringing normality back here at Pop Culture Crisis.
I think
Because her grandparents said that she has the best tits in Hollywood.
Yeah, they're
I
not
don't
exactly
think they're normal. And then her parents relocated while she was like 13 or 14 years old so that she could pursue an acting career and save them from poverty. I don't think that those are normal things that happen in someone's childhood. But
what was the top tweet?
every family gets to define their own standard of normal, though. Like,
I don't think it's normal to like watch sex scenes of your grandchild.
Yeah, that's
and
a
then
little
and then compliment
weird.
her
Unless Sydney Sweeney
weird.
forces her parents to vote for Joe Biden at gunpoint, I can no longer in good conscience stand her TV show about high schoolers snorting heroin out of each other's mouths.
It's just the new
Biden's
puritanical standard that they have come up with.
Yep.
It's an amoral society looking, just like combing through for things to moralize about.
Yep. It's also funny. Like I imagine that the people who say that she should have called out her parents don't exactly have the most stable relationships with their families. If you believe that that's where you draw the line. Like I have family members I don't agree with on things, and believe it or not, I still love them and don't really care what they.
Normal people can sit around the table at Thanksgiving with, their family members whom they love and disagree with.
This goes back to like the old Vice articles about like what to say at Thanksgiving when your right-wing uncle comes and starts.
I hate when the memes start around Thanksgiving when the memes about political differences come up.
I always
hate it.
Like when I hear people talk about how they won't associate with family members anymore because
like that's a
political
problem,
reasons.
sure.
I feel like there's a deeper thing to that because I have friends who disagree with me politically, and we may not have discussions about the things that we don't necessarily agree on that we know is just going to bring tension, but we can still go have a skate session or hang out or play music, and it's fine.
For the most part, I have friends that disagree with me on certain things, but it's never been brought up because I don't like. They might talk about that stuff, but I tend to keep that stuff to myself.
I don't think anyone has a single friend that they agree with on everything.
And it would be weird, but
it would be weird if you did.
And we had a culture where for a lot of years it just wasn't seen as that serious.
If that's all your friends, you might be in a cult.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
I think they want to enforce on public figures that they have to have the whole chosen family dynamic.
Imagine if me and Mary agreed on everything. Me and Mary agree on like one out of
this
every
would be a boring
10
show.
things.
I think we disagree on like just about everything.
we tend to disagree on just about everything, but we get along because we understand that there's more to the world than the funny thing is
we're not mentally ill.
I've been
freaks
watching a lot of it lately. There's been a lot of discussion about how bad things are, right? Like the world's falling apart, this and that. I'm like, if you're out in the world, do you really experience it the same way? Like, if you didn't have the internet telling you that the world was falling apart, in which case you're just prone to your own level of propaganda, right? Like, very few people make a conscious effort to get information from both sides of the aisle and then figure out where they stand on those issues on everything. Most people don't have the time, right? Sydney Sweeney probably doesn't have the time to do that. She's busy making her weird show about
She's busy
heroin
working and barely surviving off of
a couple $1 million.
wage.
Yeah. So it's like if there wasn't somebody online telling you that the world was falling apart in the real world, outside of seeing like I've seen food shortages. I guess that's true. Like I have seen like prices go up, but I'm not seeing chaos in the streets everywhere I go. I saw riots during 2020 because I was from Minnesota, and that was and that was awful, and that was the extent of it. But that was a very, very polarizing time. I don't think it is the same. I don't think things are good right now.
No.
And this was coming up because I was reading about Ozzy Osbourne earlier and him like leaving the country supposedly because of all the shootings. I'm like, or tax reasons. That when he initially said tax reasons, now he's saying this. I don't know which one. I don't know if he's seeing a lot of shootings out there in Calabasas. But if you didn't have a talking head on the TV or a talking head on YouTube or a talking head anywhere telling you that the world was falling apart, is it? Maybe. But would it have affected your life the same way?
Yeah, and if you want to stay sane, you have to remember that celebrities and Twitter are reliably going to reflect the worst parts of society, like
because it benefits them.
And I think
and often artificially. They are artificially amplifying anger and hatred where it doesn't exist.
I would like to think that we have
just dividing people.
I would like to think that we have fairly rational discussions here about topics that tend to lean one way, but we give fair shake to almost everything we talk about when we discuss it. Everyone's got their certain things that annoy them or set them off. I can rant on certain things, but I would like to think that we can have honest discussions about most of this stuff. But you're not going to have those on Twitter. It's not what Twitter's for.
Well, what is Twitter even for? That's what they sell themselves to be.
One person commented after she made her statement. Did we read her official statement where she says,
her
"You
tweet?
guys, you guys."
Did.
Okay, so she makes her statement and says, like, "Happy birthday, Mom," and stop making assumptions about what this means. One person says, "Then you should have selected other pictures to post that wouldn't be left up to interpretation in this manner."
Also, that was her brother that posted the pictures, not her.
Lesson learned for you, I assume. The snark is just. If I could kick that tweet out a window, I would. I would kick the actual tweet out a window. I should print it and kick it out a window.
But again,
so
good for her
sinister.
for just calling out the silliness and, brushing it off as being absurd, because it is. And there's a lot of people who get called out for something, and out of fear, they put out some statement about, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend people." But, it sounds like
just
a very innocent thing.
Maybe it's just Sydney Sweeney's face that makes me think this, but she seems to be like a jaded person. I don't think she can easily be scared into tweeting something apologetic.
If she was my age, she would have been in Mean Girls. She would have absolutely been in Mean Girls. She's got
as Karen?
She's like half Lacey Charbet and half she
looks like Amanda Seyfried a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, actually.
So she would have been in Not Another Teen Movie.
And also, she plays a teenager, but she is a woman, like a grown woman in like her mid-20s, and understands how to conduct herself around in like an adult way, like in the adult world, probably for longer than she should have. But at least that means she can't, be bullied and bossed around. Well,
there's plenty of people far older than her that give in and crumble and cave and apologize.
I think often it's celebrities who were most of their time being famous has been before social media, so they don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, like the Macy Gray thing. That's like the most recent one I can think of, where she said something and then immediately was like, actually.
It's like a caveman poking a fire. Like, they don't know what it is yet, and they're kind of scared of it.
Yeah. Like her, she can make the conscious effort ahead of time. Like, I know this is going to annoy some people, but fine.
Yeah.
Macy Gray is like, I do not get it, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to post it anyways. And then they do, and I'm like, how do they not know? Like, okay, maybe that actually counters my own argument that things are as bad, but they're only as bad on the internet. Like, they're not as bad in the real world, but whenever I see stuff like this, I'm like, how did they not know that this was going to happen to them? So maybe I'm proving my own argument wrong.
Maybe they just don't care.
She knew and didn't care, which is kind of based. I don't like Sydney Sweeney, though,
but
for other reasons.
I don't know enough. I've seen, like, clips here and there of the Euphoria show, but that's about all I know of her.
But maybe that's that's the best we can hope for, is in 10 years when everyone who's famous, when more people that are famous only grew up in this age, they learn to just say, I know this is going to piss people off, but I'm going to post it anyways. And then everyone can kind of have their day.
It goes the other way, though,
Which
too.
weirdly takes a lot of bravery for some people.
Yeah.
That's
depending on your temperament.
Yeah.
It's very
some people
strange to
really
me.
can't handle backlash.
It's weird to me that that's considered brave now. Like,
yeah.
just, you
'Cause
know,
we're so
owning
fragile.
No,
what you want to say.
The argument there is like, look, if you're a dude or a woman and you get into a fight, that fight lasts 5 minutes. You get punched in the face, it hurts, it heals very quickly. You say something that sets off enough people online, that abuse will rain down on you for days and days and days and days.
And you'll be asked for comments on it.
And
for days.
It will be psychologically abusive to you if you don't have the temperament to just ignore it or to make your statement and be done with it. You're liable to be basically psychologically abused for an extended period of time. That's not something that everyone has the ability to cope with.
Yeah.
Like, it actually helps. Like, certain celebrities, once you get to a certain level of fame, that's going to happen. You could post, like, I love the color blue, and 900 comments like, oh, fuck you, orange is the best color. Like, that's going to happen. Like,
you racist.
Like, yeah, like it doesn't matter. But for the average person, or a Macy Gray who is famous but probably goes through waxing and waning periods of relevance depending on whether she's performing, whatever, I don't know. But it's hard. So I don't know if I necessarily discount it as not brave, but I do believe that it's something that they have to learn to make that decision for themselves, or just get off the phone. Like, let your social media person, let your social media person handle it, and just don't engage.
I get a lot of hate on social media, and it's been a few months now of consistent every single day. But I think the way I deal with it, and I think the way a lot of people deal with it, is that there's nothing to be ashamed of about what you said.
Yeah.
So you don't take it so personally.
That requires a certain level of self.
That's my philosophy about the cart returning thing.
Yeah.
I have nothing to be ashamed of.
There is a certain point where you have to have a certain, like, if you don't have a certain level of self-confidence, you will suffer.
Yeah.
And most people don't.
Yeah.
But I mean, being bombarded like that online, it's a difficult thing to navigate for anyone. I think, especially like celebrities, I think it's just part of the gig that a lot of times, especially now, they know they're getting into. But when it happens to like regular people, just randomly, it's wild. But what can you do except for brush it off and think, these people are going to post what they're going to post, but...
Also, remember, we're in a society now.
I'm confident about what I had to say.
We're in a society now that turned this into like a hate symbol. So like you're screwed either way. Like, you're gonna end up pissing somebody off.
You did the okay sign for Spotify listeners.
If you're a Spotify listener, yes. I still see that one sometimes. It boggles my mind. All right, let's do some super chats.
Caper2X said, I had to refresh the page, so maybe this isn't the right one. Caper2X said, Brett, for your 200th episode, you must march Hannah Claire to a heated dunk tank safely placed near Chicken City. Mary, don't kill us. Hola, Taylor.
Hola. Wait,
did you think that I was going
Chicken
to?
City?
Are you scared?
There was a joke early days of this podcast about Hannah Claire in a dunk, like doing something for like, I don't remember.
Was it early days? Because I was here.
No, it was before
that.
Then that goes back. We're talking back.
Primordial pop culture crisis.
Yeah, dude. So
I like the idea of having a dunk tank.
Yep.
Sounds like a fun episode.
We will have to live. Maybe we do it live on the company's on the podcast's Instagram, like on their IG live.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
maybe.
interesting. Take that, Hannah Claire.
We'll just do it on Chicken City. It'll be in the background. It'll be in the chicken coop.
Switch over to Chicken City.
Hobbit said, "Make parking lots great again."
Or at least clean again, they're saying, Mary. They don't want carts in the parking lots.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, Mary now needs a rosewood shower after reading about Sydney Sweeney and her grandpa.
I don't know what a rosewood...
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Mary sent us $4.99 with no message.
Thank
you.
A different Mary.
A different Mary than me. Mary. It was not me. There was one day where we had like 3 or 4 different people named Mary in the live chat for no reason. And it was like,
How'd you feel about that?
I guess the live chat kind of has their own memes and their own discussion
This
going
isn't
on.
a super
It
chat,
was
but somebody
interesting.
just said Taylor has friends.
That's so mean.
I know, it's so hard to
What-
believe.
What we've learned is that people are very mean.
No, you guys are nice to us. If you compared our live chat to IRL, it's a huge difference.
The-
You guys are more personable by far.
Sometimes
Oh,
I go
yeah.
into the IRL chat and I'm just like, oh, and then like I literally like feel like I need
Just to look
like,
at the gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, like I get that. I'm like, oh boy, and then I go because I like to. I don't have the time to watch IRL, but I do tend to tune in for the super chat segments. I like the super chat segments because it catches them in a different vibe than just talking. So
Brewmaster Monk said the country is falling apart because the elite are religious zealots trying to fulfill prophecy.
I would have to know what prophecy that is and what religion that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Satanism. Is that a religion?
I don't even know if that is
Satanism's
a
a religion, right?
I mean,
Luciferian. I have
no
no
one.
idea.
I
I'm
don't
just
know
making
if
things up. I have
they're-
no idea.
I don't know. Sometimes when someone starts talking about the elite religious people taking over the world, I get a little nervous.
Do you start wondering, like, are
I
the
have
lizard
no
are they going to have
idea.
lizard heads and stuff like that?
Like,
Am I missing one?
I
think that was all of
that was all of them.
Okay.
All right, guys. Now we were going to get right back into it because we had to have
Right back into the sad stuff.
Yes, we are.
I guess.
So
I mean, no, it's not sad.
yep.
I don't
Do you-
think it's sad.
Do you want to lead this one?
it
Sure.
was. I was listening to that, and it was actually like
Well,
making
the
me
subject matter
emotional.
of it is sad. Let me just clear it up.
Yeah, let's get
Britney
into it.
Spears posted an audio clip on YouTube that is now deleted. I'm not sure exactly when she posted and deleted it, but it sounds like she was in her home recording this on her own. The audio quality isn't great. And
No, the
she's
audio quality is
just-
like really bad at certain places. Like it seems like she's like wearing a
Yeah.
long sleeve shirt and her shirt covers up the microphone on her phone or something.
It's no Oprah interview. It's no big, flashy
Which is what I like about it.
tell all. It's just, it seems very organic that she just wanted to talk about the overview of the story of like what happened with her conservatorship and new details.
It kind of goes to like what we were saying about the Eat Predators group feeling unorganized, making it feel more authentic. It feels more authentic because the second she does this publicly with Oprah and she gets paid a fee to do so, and it's professionally shot with great lighting and all this stuff, that feels manufactured, which automatically kind of makes it harder for you to digest it and not feel like you're watching some type of entertainment, even if it's not. Like,
Yeah.
even if what you're watching is 100% true, just the production value alone can make it harder to digest it as something real.
This audio
Yeah.
clip, though, I feel like you can hear it in her voice that she's been through something really traumatic, and she genuinely wants to share to help people who may be going through anything
Yeah.
that can relate
Well,
to it.
I like that she mentioned she could have made money off of telling her story, but is instead doing it for herself and her own like processing of what happened to her. I don't think she fully has processed it. And her life, her personal life still isn't recovered.
Not even close.
Not even close. Her children, I don't think are seeing her right now. And she's in this new marriage. It's unclear what's actually going on, and
Yeah.
she could. I don't want news outlets to like pay her to exploit for information that doesn't rightfully belong to them. So anyway, this clip was 22 minutes long. She posted it on Sunday, and
took it down almost immediately.
she took it down really
Which
quickly,
I'm guessing
which I
has to
believe
do
was a
with
legal thing. If she ever wanted to take legal action against her father, who was her conservator, or possibly her sister,
Yeah.
Jamie Lynn, then she can't just be like on social media revealing everything and saying things that could be used against her.
So do you want to start? Should we just start from this? I might just read the transcript part here from the very beginning. This isn't a transcript, but they give. So it says, starting from the beginning, Spears, 40, says the conservatorship started when she was just 25. I was extremely young. I remember a lot of my friends texting me and calling me, and we were extremely close, and they wanted to see me, Spears said. But what happened, honestly, still to this day, I don't know what really I did. But due to the punishment of my father, I wasn't able to see anyone. You have to imagine none of it made sense to me. I literally spoke in a British accent to a doctor to prescribe my medication, and 3 days later, there was a SWAT team in my house with 3 helicopters, says Spears, detailing the confusion of the time, adding that her playing chase with paparazzi was something she enjoyed and was further evidence of erratic behavior. She says that she believes that the conservatorship was premeditated and her parents colluded with outside elements. I know, and she says, quote, I know now that it was all premeditated and a woman introduced the idea to my dad and my mom and actually helped him follow through and made it all happen. And it seems like, I thought that she said that her mom was the one who floated this idea to her dad.
Yeah, as like a less than serious thing, and then she said that he latched onto it
because he's such a power-hungry person.
Because of his personality. Yeah. She said her brother was a football player, and when he was in high school, he was kind of the target of his controlling behavior.
Yeah,
their fathers, and then he kind of switched over to her because I believe it's because she became the moneymaker of their family.
Yeah.
And he wanted control of that. So
he said, I'm Britney Spears, and I'm calling the shots. He's basically he's like, I'm the one who makes this work.
Yeah, that's a full admission of what it really was about. Yep. He wanted just complete and total ownership over her identity, and also like her ability to make money.
Yep.
And work. And we were just talking about like parents of child performers getting financially exploited by their parents.
Do you think that it's more common for the parents to want this for their kids, or do you think it's more common that the kids want it and the parents just go along?
It can be like a mix of both.
I was going to say it could be both, but sometimes I think you have to be a parent and choose what's best for your kid, even if it's not what your kid wants.
I mean,
you got to be a parent, not a friend.
There's huge risk involved either way, but at least if it's the kid's idea, you have a chance at the kid turning out okay. Yeah. If it's forced on them, that's like you're doomed from the start. But it seems like she was treated like a child well into her 30s.
Yeah.
And now you even mentioned, Brett, that her voice sounds like that of a teenager.
Kid. She doesn't sound like an adult.
And it's because she kind of had to be frozen in time for so long while she was working that, like, she doesn't have the sense of self that someone her age should have. Yep. She's 40 now, I believe.
And that was all she knew. She didn't have, like, an idea of what a normal childhood was even like. And there's got to be so much that a child going through this would miss out on that are really crucial things during developmental years and teenage years. It's tragic.
Talks about this time when her Las Vegas residency was interrupted because she had to she was like forced to go to an inpatient mental health facility. And
forced to go to AA.
Yeah, and AA when she had never abused.
Yeah, she wasn't a drinker. And
to my knowledge, I don't think she had a substance abuse problem of any kind.
Not that I know of, but they're saying that she found those people to be very, very good to listen to, which is scary. Those stories. Like normally, if you're not in AA and you don't actually have a problem with that, those stories would just kind of come off as tragic and kind of awful. But because what she was going through was just as traumatic. It probably resonated with her more than she would have expected it to, because those are people struggling with an invisible foe rather than one that's right in front of you,
like a villain in your life that's actually a person.
But you're still struggling. It's just a different type of struggle.
She said they literally killed me. They threw me away. I felt like my family threw me away. I was performing for thousands of people at night in Vegas. The rush of being a performer, the laughter, the respect. I was a machine. I was an effing machine, not even human almost. It was insane. So she's surprised that she even was able to perform and work so often, 7 days a week.
Yeah, no breaks, not allowed
Not
to
normal hours.
not allowed to shower without somebody watching her.
And probably
change
having
anything.
everything you eat. And
She even said
all
that, like,
monitored.
sometimes I was allowed to watch a movie at night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just shocked by that. Like, how can they control every aspect of your life down to that level of minutia?
It's terrifying, like absolutely terrifying. The part that stuck out to me was it felt like, because the comparison's usually made to prison, right? But the not being able to shower without any
Yeah.
privacy. Her diet was strictly controlled, forced to work out. She had no concept of freedom in any way.
And now that she has the freedom, we've talked about this aspect of it in the past. Now that she has the freedom, it's like you're like a dog chasing a car. Like, what would you even do with it? And she has the potential to kind of mess up her life even more now that she's independent. But also, it's like you can argue that she deserves that freedom to make her own mistakes.
That's
now.
been my position, has essentially been like, look, do I think that she's making the best decisions right now? No, I do not. Do I think she's behaving erratically and unpredictably? Absolutely. Do I think that she has every right in the world to make those mistakes for herself? Yes, I do, especially given that I don't believe she has any kids under her care, right?
No, not now.
So if it's her, I mean, I don't think that that's helping the children, like her kids. I mean, there have been well-documented cases with both of her sons who did not come to the wedding, and there's the back and forth with her and her ex-husband and what they all think of it. But at this point, she needs to learn how to be herself on her own, not under the care of somebody else, before she can do any of that. Like, actually, when you really think about the fact that all of this was going on while she had kids, is insane. Like,
yeah, and like, what were they thinking of all of this
as this is going on?
Yeah, and then her, I hope that it's not the same situation as like her mom and her sister saying like, oh, we had no idea.
Yeah,
there's no way that you had no idea.
She seems to lay the blame more at her mom's feet than anyone else's.
It's equal, I think.
It almost feels like she says, I'm honestly more angry at my mom because I heard when reporters would call her at the time and ask questions of what was going on, she would hide in the house and she wouldn't speak up, says Spears. It was always like, I don't know what to say. I just don't want to say the wrong thing. We're praying for her. I feel like she could have gotten me a lawyer in literally seconds. She could have.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then she had to wait for a childhood friend of hers to get her a lawyer. And it was because every time she tried to contact a law firm, her phone was tapped and the call ended.
It's a terrifying, the whole thing is terrifying. Like,
it doesn't even sound real, but like, did people find her to be like that powerful of an instrument that they felt the need to do that? It's almost like,
if anything,
totalitarian government levels of like thought put into how to control her.
She said,
do you know what it proves?
It was like they secretly, honestly liked me being the bad one
in the family
and wanted to keep it that way, it sounds like.
I think it speaks more to just how, when you get to her level of fame as a performer, you are no longer an individual. You are a product that employs hundreds of people, that keeps thousands of people, hundreds of people in jobs, that make a ton of people a crap ton of money. You are, unfortunately, no longer Britney Spears the person. You are Britney Spears the brand. And when any company comes along, there's liable to be people that want to exploit and abuse something for their own ends. It just so happens that you happen to be what was being abused, and the people doing it were the absolute last people that should ever be looking to do something like that. You should never have to worry about your family being the ones to take advantage of you, no matter how much money is.
You would think with that level of name recognition and just like your natural talent and accomplishments, that you would have the power to throw around in that position. I think a lot of artists do, just not her.
Yeah.
But it just occurred to me that like people in acting. Like movie stars, actresses, they don't end up in the same situation because they don't employ other people really as much as they employ themselves. Thank you.
Because the studio
Party
employs
time.
them.
Yeah, they.
But
like if you're Britney Spears with a Las Vegas residency, think about the amount of people that put on a production like that, and the family members you're enriching with that.
When Adele canceled her show, it's not just the fans who are out of that experience at her residency. It's all the people that would have been employed to. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
And if you look up in the top left corner, there is now a party counter. That tells you how.
Look at
how,
that.
Yes, it's up there. It's purple. It's in the top left corner. You can now see it.
We should have a tally, actually.
Ooh, like it chalks up. We'd have to figure out how to do that on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So I mean, I don't know if it is necessarily like it wouldn't happen to an actor, but it does. I also want to know if you think that this is something that. I'm trying to think of a male counterpart to this. I feel like there's an example, and I'm not thinking of it off the top of my head.
In music?
Yeah.
I don't know. Michael Jackson?
Yeah. I mean, anybody who's reached that level of fame is liable to be used if they can't advocate for themselves.
What I hope that this means, and also like what I hope her deleting it means, isn't that she went back on anything she said in her conscience.
No, I think her lawyer told her to take that down.
She's planning on taking legal action against her father and maybe her sister or mom. She has more grounds for her father just because he was the conservator. I hope that that's what that predicts.
I think it's kind of sad that, I mean, obviously she deserves any type of justice she can get in that situation, but it's sad that, like, she's probably just trying to enjoy her freedom, get her life together, but still has to follow this mission to get some justice. Like,
it's not over.
Yeah.
It was never going to be immediately over. And I think another white pill in this is that she sounded surprisingly lucid, surprisingly is able to like remember things in detail and recount them articulately. And
did it also seem like she, like, as much as she's recounting what happened to her, she doesn't come off like she's like playing a victim.
No.
She's explaining. I feel like there's I'm gonna try the best way to phrase this without coming across rude. Like, there is like a way in which we can portray things that have happened to us negatively, and do so from a place of strength as we grow from our experiences, that I feel is missing from a lot of from a lot of the stories we hear today from the activist side of things, where she comes off as somebody who's trying to actually move on and do something and grow from her experiences, where I don't get that. And I maybe I'm not articulating this very well, but I don't get that from a lot of
she's somebody who I think her personality has always been more independent than it's been allowed to be.
Maybe that's also a generational thing. Like, she just grew up at a different time where maybe she's like, look, I've made my money. I don't need to use victimhood as like as a currency. So maybe that just speaks to a generational difference. But I want to finish with how she finishes it. How she finished the video. She says, "If you're a weird introvert oddball like me who feels alone a lot of the time, and you need to hear a story like this today so you don't feel alone, know that my life has been far from easy and you are not alone." And I thought that was a fantastic way to and that was like the biggest white pill of it for me. Is she comes off very, very well. Like you said, very lucid, very. I mean, it was very off the cuff, so it's not like she was like reading from a script or anything like that. It was,
and I've worried about that. With her, if there's a permanent like damage to her psyche that she can't think for herself anymore, even after being given independence. And like hearing her speak this way actually gave me more hope that she's recovering and also able to write this memoir, because I was like, that's definitely 100% ghost written. There's no way she can string thoughts together. But maybe she's just like a boomer with social media and
that's it. Now all we need is to get her a new phone With a better camera.
She speaks so much more clearly than she writes anything.
Which is weird because I'm the opposite. I write much better than I speak.
I think also it's got to take some time to be able to voice what you're feeling and thinking.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people did need to hear a story like that today, and that a lot of people do feel alone, and hearing it from somebody like Britney Spears, who has been through something extremely traumatic and is still going. And like, she even, one thing that really touched me from the video, not to sound incredibly sappy or at the risk of sounding incredibly sappy, was she said under the conservatorship, she kind of stopped believing in God at that time. And I think a lot of people struggle with that at times that they're going through something. But she also talked about continuing to pray through that time. And regardless whether you're religious or not, like for me, like I can imagine being hopeless going through this. And the fact that she is able to speak about her story at all.
Yeah. To be that public facing and have all this stuff happen to you literally while you're also like known to millions of people.
It's kind of humiliating.
That's almost worse than being a nobody and having this happen to you, is being a somebody and having it happen literally right in front of everyone and still nothing being done about it.
Yeah.
And so many people, including myself, viewed her as this like American girl living the dream, just super talented in every way, looking up to her, and like this big sister image for young girls in America. So hindsight's obviously 2020, but back then nobody really realized how damaging this sort of thing could be to a child. Yep. So for her to care enough about other people who might be in vulnerable positions where they're taken advantage of, enough to say something and to speak on it, especially with how difficult it probably is to even have to keep advocating for herself on this over and over again with this been her whole life. Like, that inspires me, and the video definitely hit home for me, or the audio, I mean. But I hope that her life continues to get better and she has some healing. But I think a lot of people can take from this story.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some
So
super chats.
hopefully it's not all in vain. I don't think it is.
Well, like I said, just get her a new photographer. So if she's going to post her kind of like boomer half-naked photos, I'm fine with that. You're an adult. You can do what you want. Do I think the kids probably don't like it? Probably not. But if you're going to do it, at least take better photos and get her a new phone.
Yeah. Brewmaster Monk said Third Temple Prophecy. He spelled it prophesy, but I think he meant prophecy, so I said that.
St. Miles. So
I don't know what that is.
Also,
though.
I might be biased because I grew up like idolizing Britney Spears.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But so did a lot of us, okay?
That is true.
Oh, did I miss one?
St.
St.
Miles
Miles said, I usually watch your later posts. Just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work. Information that you folks have imparted have modified my entertainment choice. Hope this sets you over the crisis party level.
It did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's choosing what to watch is really interesting because it's like you cannot on principle not watch one. Okay, there is no form of entertainment that is not exploiting someone at some level in some way, right? Like
really?
I in Hollywood, yeah, I don't believe that I don't think there's a not guilty party. I don't. If somebody could point one out to me, like somebody who's like, okay, someone's like, oh, Coco Melon. Yeah, well, I'm sure their animators are making very little money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not
something, no matter how benign it seems.
There's a guilty party somewhere, some way. Like, the best you can do is call it out or look for the alternatives, like with Eric D. July making the Rippaverse, with Daily Wire making their alternative versions of entertainment. But
if they can do it with less funds, then anyone can do it. They just don't want to.
So it's like, to me, it's like I find it important and worth calling out, but I also admit that I am weak in some fashions, and there's a lot of entertainment that I love. Older stuff that has been made that I may not support, or I disagree with the people who One thing that doesn't bother me is like I don't care if they have different political beliefs than me. If it's entertainment's good, it's good, right? That stuff doesn't bother me. That's why I've taken to kind of looking up stuff on their Instagrams. The Twitter's different. I don't get caught in the Twitter sphere because Twitter's a cesspool. But
Twitter's also boring. If you haven't been on it for years, it's boring.
Yeah. So it's it really doesn't bother me if they see the world differently. But if you're looking for studios or executives that are free from any level of blame, I don't think such a thing exists in mainstream Hollywood.
Yeah.
Somebody would have to give me a very
Realistically.
compelling example, and even then I would say like until the story eventually comes out down
I
the
thought
line.
you meant just like on principle, if you're making anything, then someone has to be exploited.
No,
for it. And I
I'm
was
saying the manner
I
in
think
which
independent creators do that. They accomplish that all the time, and it's relatively easy if you're like a normal person.
No, I was saying literally the opposite. It's like if you're part of that mainstream structure, I don't think there's any level of that's not exploitative in some fashion. The independent stuff is the where you're getting the bright rays of sunshine, where there actually is thought being put into what they're making. They're catering to an audience that they don't hate. And they're employing people and paying good rates and stuff like that. So
perhaps that's why we're seeing such a rise in people creating stuff more independently.
Well, I think the democratization of the internet has helped that out tremendously. It's a lot easier now than it's ever been to make. Like, I love how creative people who create stuff on Instagram and TikTok are. When it's not political and it's just humorous, I laugh. Like that takes legitimately funny people who have found a relatively new medium and found a new way of creating things that is entertaining. It's just not the mainstream, how it was created in generations past. It's one of the reasons I think Hollywood has tried so hard to, they tried to jump onto YouTube. Like Will Smith has an AstroTurf YouTube page that everyone knows nobody cares about.
It has like a disturbing level of production quality.
Yeah, you're like I don't come to YouTube to see the highest of production quality for your family stuff. I want to see real, not a set. Otherwise, I would just go watch your movies.
Or at least something that feels real, even if it isn't.
Learn to fake it.
Bobcat said, unfortunately, most of the young girls Disney got their hands on have become complete messes as adults. But is it just stress or something worse? I think it's something way worse.
Some of them it might be stress, but most of them, I'm guessing it's like once you get to that level, like you have to learn how to handle stress in general anyways. So I don't think it's just stress. I don't think it's just keeping a busy schedule and having a lot of work and responsibilities. I think it goes deeper than that.
But also for children, it's a whole different ballpark dealing with like the stresses of having a job.
Yeah.
And having to go to work and perform and do things correctly. Like most children do not have jobs. They get to just be kids and go to school or do whatever activities they're interested in.
Now that I think about it, entertainment probably is the only industry where kids are, and remember, they're not even allowed to work full days. I think they can only work 10-hour days. But even then,
that's a long day.
It might even be
day.
less than that now. It's like they used to be. Like the reason they hire actors that are like in their mid-20s to play high school kids isn't because of they're better actors necessarily. It's because they can keep them for the full length of the day and not have to cut production at midnight or something or whenever. You can only work an 8 or a 10-hour day, maybe it's 12, but they can't work the same 16 18-hour days that a regular actor can.
I also feel like for any kids, but especially young girls, it's got to be a lot of pressure to look a certain way and act a certain way because all eyes are on you and your face is everywhere.
It's not just that anymore. Now it's like, do you have the right beliefs? Do you have
that too?
Do you see the world the way they want you to see the world? Do you have are you Harry Styles and you've
it's like
are you an activist on Instagram
of like asking a Miss Universe contestant what she thinks about like our education system.
Dude.
It's like, do we actually care about that, or are we just testing you for how well you can articulate yourself?
Then maybe the idea here is we need to go back. I want to go back to the days where like a girl could like a girl or a guy, like a male model and a female model can just be a bimbo.
Abercrombie
I don't
and
like
Fitch.
I don't like it's going like I just want like people to like get along. Like I want that. I want you to bring like
world peace.
I want like people to just like get along, and like I don't want like people to starve.
I don't think
idea,
wanting
sis.
peace is as vapid as people like to make it out to be.
It's
I want peace.
But also, like, you're calling for peace and not, like, actually doing something. I understand.
I want to just call for
why
it,
people
not
find
do
it
anything.
annoying.
I want, let's bring back even where, like, I don't want slacktivism. I want just not even, I want to even not go that far. What's worse than an activist is a slacktivist, but what's better than both is somebody who just doesn't care about either.
St. Miles said,
Number
he
one.
just sent us a little, like, GIF. I don't know what it is.
It's a number
but
one.
Number
He
one.
called us number one.
Is that
so
a cat?
I'm not
Or
sure.
no, it's like there's antlers. I don't know. But it's
like
cute.
a dog and
Thank
a cat and has antlers. Waffle Sensei said, imagine being Britney Spears coming out of your conservatorship.
Britney Spears?
Britney Spears.
Oh my God.
Britney Spears coming out of your conservatorship and seeing the cultural rot throughout society. She's angry that she is realizing that the things that got her locked up is child's play compared to modernity.
I don't know if I believe that she.
I don't know.
I don't know if I saw that from her. I saw more hope from her. I heard more
Yeah.
hope for her.
It didn't sound angry.
Like, I mean, I think you're farther along in your understanding of the world than she is, just because I'm talking about Waffle Sensei.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you are farther along in your view of the world and seeing what things are changing and becoming than she is, because she's just being reacquainted with the world at large.
Also, she got every right to be angry if she is angry. I feel like that's pretty normal.
I agree.
John Harrison said, Taylor, most children do not have jobs. China would disagree.
Oh,
Personally, I love child workers. Small hands make good shoes like elves.
Well, I'm
Wow.
not advocating
Controversial take.
for child workers anywhere.
You want to put
Stitching
them back in the mines?
The stitching on my shoes is just so, and I need the that is messed up.
Convincing Reality said, mainstream versus independent reminds me of D&D. Some unofficial 5e supplements are making bank, while official books are becoming less and less popular.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Like, if you can do it on your own and you see that there's a market that needs to be filled because the mainstream industry isn't filling it, then that's what you need to do. That's what Eric July is doing with Rippaverse. That's what the Daily Wire is doing with their movies. That's what even something like After a Fashion, like studios that are just as bad as the rest of them, but are smart enough to keep a couple of properties that appeal to another market. Amazon does it with Reacher and with Terminalist, which very clearly have a target audience, but it's nothing like the rest of the stuff they're making. Like, how does that studio,
you.
how does the studio that makes those also responsible for the absolute train wreck that is the promotion of the upcoming Lord of the Rings of Power? How are they connected?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I think we just got one more.
Waffle Sensei said, there's only one way to achieve world peace. Every actor in America must sing a compilation of Dreamer by John Lennon.
No, that
I-
didn't work last
I heard-
time.
hey.
It made
But
things
if you
worse.
try a different song.
Okay.
Oh
but
wait,
no-
it was Imagine last
Will
time.
it
Sorry.
work?
Yeah, you can't use a commie song, and it's also that's also further proof
Yeah,
of
look what happened.
that is further proof of just how likable Gal Gadot is, that she survived that without her career being ruined by that absolutely horrible song. So, all right, guys, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Podluck. So, Taylor, you'll have to bear with us while we discuss Samaritan. First
I did
things
not
first,
see Samaritan
Mary.
yet.
I would actually recommend it.
Perhaps I'll check it out. But I don't. If you guys have like spoilers or anything, it's okay. Like,
Yep. Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
getting spoiled.
oh,
I don't know
you're-
how to do a non-spoiler
You're
review.
going to get spoilers.
I do like
Sorry.
Sylvester Stallone though.
Yes. Okay. First of all, first things first. Sylvester Stallone looks fantastic for like 76 years old. I'm trying to look like that when I'm.
He's
76.
76.
He was born in 46, so he's like 74. So he's in his
I'll
mid-70s.
just say he looks good, but I definitely found those scenes where he was exhausted and dying believable. Quite believable.
So let's tell people what this is. So Samaritan.
So did they have to make him up to make him look good, or make
Maybe
him
he
down
just
to make him look
actually
dying?
was exhausted.
So it says this is a movie about basically it's in a town. It's in a town where there
Granite City.
Granite City, which is a great like.
Is it like
superhero-
modeled after any specific?
I mean, it's kind
one?
of Gotham-esque in its production, but it's like the movie. The movie itself like takes superhero tropes and takes the concept of superheroes. It very much felt a little bit like Unbreakable.
It was filmed in Atlanta.
So it says a young boy learns that a superhero who was thought to have gone missing after an epic battle 20 years ago may still in fact be around. So in this movie, Sylvester Stallone plays Joe. That's his name, Joe. Is it Havan? Havan? I don't know how to pronounce that name. Walton plays Sam Cleary. So Joe and Sam are the two main characters in the show, but the kid really does kind of carry a lot of this movie by being really, really likable. Really,
He at least
really
carries the first part to get you hooked in
really,
to the story.
really optimistic. And there's just a lack of pretentiousness about this movie that really, really rang true to me.
And I loved that even though he's a kid, they didn't do the typical thing they do with child characters, where he's like awkwardly like too precocious for his own good and is like really annoying and young Sheldon-ish.
Yeah. By the way, nobody has suffered more from the internet than actually precocious children, because anytime you
no one is ever going to believe that now.
No, anytime you read something, it's like, oh my God, my daughter came in my room and said this really, really funny thing. Like, no, she didn't. You're lying. You're a clout chaser. Shut up.
Yeah. But what if she actually did?
I'm not familiar with the kid. Is this like a breakout role for him, or
I
has he
haven't
done some
seen
other
him
work?
in anything else.
So the other thing
good
is,
on him if that's his first movie with Sylvester Stallone.
there's absolutely social messaging in this movie, mainly around the concept of wealth. It's not even wealth inequality. It's just on the topic of poverty, meaning that
he was in Euphoria.
Yeah. So this is a show where poverty in the city is very clearly a theme, right? It's a city that's gone to crap, but there isn't really wealth inequality. They're not like talking about the rich people are up here and the poor people are down here. It's just that everyone is suffering, right? And I would say the action is mid to low. It was very clearly a victim of a smaller budget, which is fine. It has the one big scene between Nemesis and Samaritan in that they kind of recut to, that they keep coming back to.
What did you find lacking about the action scene?
They use the same trope over and over where you hit somebody and then they wire flip them.
Oh, yeah.
That was like repeatedly done, which they didn't need to do.
I don't know. Like, it's charming.
The movie is extremely diverse. As Hollywood loves that concept, if you want a very good class on how to actually do it, this is how you do it. It's never called attention to. It didn't feel forced. The kid in the show and his mom have a very believable relationship. She's a nurse. There's a little bit. There was a thing with her and her like landlord that was kind of like, landlords are bad. See, because he put
I don't think it was like that.
But it wasn't done super heavy-handed.
Because that's just, you're introducing their characters and you're like setting the scene that they're lower middle class.
So the bad guy in this movie, which is a character named Cyrus, and his cohort Syl, I couldn't tell if they were together or not. I couldn't
either, but then she said her backstory was that
he found her when she was
8.
Yeah, so that's...
Or 18.
8.
Okay, if she found her when she was 8, then I hope that they were not dating.
Mega groomer, then.
Please, but they look like they're the same age. Yes. I'm sorry, that's weird.
The one thing that this movie struggles with is that it could have really benefited from a more charismatic performance from the bad guy.
Totally.
They gave him,
because you don't understand why he has so many followers, and then also when he, puts on the mask and does the Bane
speech,
thing,
it comes literally out of nowhere. And
it comes out of nowhere. Not just that, but also like he tries to start a revolution.
It's really
he just kind of kicks it off, and then all of these people run over, and they're like, "Yeah,
sure,
let's
why not?
Throwing bricks at cars."
Yeah.
And that goes on for like seemingly a week or something.
Yeah.
And it's just nonstop chaos, and he just kind of had to kick it off, and then he walked out of the scene. Like, it makes very little sense.
The funny thing is, you mentioned that it's supposed to be like a Bane scene. They gave him like the same coat that Bane wore in The Dark Knight Rises.
What do you mean, like the same exact?
No, it's close. It very much is supposed to look like the one that Bane wore in The Dark Knight Rises. I'm assuming so. Why else would you choose that coat?
I mean, if you make the same overture to like Rocky, where he's like teaching the kid how to fight. Yeah.
So, and they gave him
they don't care about being ham-fisted.
They gave him the cool bad guy haircut. They gave him the cool bad guy speech, but the actor,
pointy beard.
The pointy beard, but the actor just didn't quite have the gravitas to pull that off, and especially not like Stallone.
Do you recognize him from anything?
He wasn't anybody that I had seen in anything recently.
Okay. I think he was in like Game of Thrones.
He was in Ghost in the Shell.
Also, the kid who played Sam was in Euphoria, and he was in Umbrella Academy.
So he's an established actor now.
Yeah, this isn't like his breakout
I'm
role, but
just
this is the first time
unfamiliar.
I've seen it.
Also,
Yeah.
whoever the actor was that played Reza, the guy who looks like Tekashi 6ix9ine and keeps getting his ass kicked, is my
was
favorite.
good,
He was
actually.
hilarious. He was like, he looks like a dude who would get his ass beat if he was in a group of people like this because he would never shut up.
The scene where he hit Sam in the head with a wrench,
Yeah.
I found kind of shocking because after that, Sam seemed to be like A-okay.
Not dead.
Like, not dead, not even bleeding either.
I would actually argue that the guy that's part of the lead bad guy, Cyrus, has like his gang of misfits. So he's supposed to be like
Yeah.
this underground, like the Shredder in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, who like lures in all of these misspent these bad youths, right? And then he uses them for his cause. Like he literally, there's a really cringy scene where he's like teaching the kid to whistle.
Yeah, and then the cops come and he like has some crooked deal with
He
the
gives
cops.
the cops
It's
some
like,
money
ooh,
that's
wow.
never re-explored.
Yeah,
like I said,
cool.
guys, when I say that this movie is worth your time, I'm saying that it's a fun,
It's fun, yeah.
movie. It's not like at this
It
point.
doesn't make a lot of sense at points, and it doesn't have the best performances.
I think Stallone
ever,
gives a.
but-
I think Stallone's performance is what puts this movie over the top.
The
He
guy who
is-
played Cyrus wasn't charismatic enough as a villain, you're right. And I think they could have written it better where he has a backstory that makes
Yeah.
sense as to why he like the story of Nemesis resonated with him so much, because that's just kind of left open-ended, and then you don't understand why he's so evil.
And listen, and it never like the revolution literally comes out of nowhere. Like
There are just like random people loitering in the area who are like,
Yeah,
let's like fuck shit up.
Yeah,
like, I don't know, like what.
They've just been waiting.
I couldn't have said that in another way other than cursing.
and then
But like it definitely was like it made no sense. And another thing is like they needed to write him in a way that you understand why he has followers.
yeah.
And also the character of Syl should have been maybe younger and more impressionable seeming.
I said to you, it felt like they tried to cast Ruby Rose and she was just busy, so they casted this actress who just,
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it was written for this actress. It felt like it was written for someone else. There's a kind of, there's a really good sense of like stoic masculinity about Stallone's character that maybe that's what I feel is missing from a lot of cinema nowadays.
It's something about the fact that he didn't explain himself. Like,
Yeah.
he
Yep.
didn't have to go and defend everything he ever did.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
by the end of the movie, he did something evil.
yeah.
That he was very evil.
Also, they
He's
felt
that he's the bad guy, and he didn't need to like sit and explain and apologize and like agonize over it.
yeah.
Like his development as a person spoke for itself, and the plot twist is genuinely unexpected.
I didn't. For once, I did not. It didn't come. I was wondering like why they keep referencing why Nemesis was such an important part of the movie without actually being in it at all. So I guess
Because I was expecting like, is Nemesis going to show up at some point and then
Yeah.
betray Cyrus?
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen?
The other funny thing about it was there was a scene where they break into the police station to steal the hammer.
Yeah.
When you talk over the top, they're talking
Because
about,
evidence is definitely stored like that, right?
But the funny thing is, like, when this movie's starting, they said he forged the hammer with his hatred of his brother. That's great. I love that type of ridiculous, over the top. It's not the real world. It's not supposed to be the real world.
The intro was very like comic book.
But then when they knock over the police station, like the guy's acting like all over the top and comical in a way that I never really saw from him again in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like he wasn't that same level of over the top and weird during the rest of the movie than he was when they were like breaking into the police station.
Cyrus had some like facial expressions that were very unexpected.
Syl did too in that one.
Where she like bit in the air
Yeah.
in front of Sam's face.
The-
like
the-
just weird things that happened like that weren't consistently
Part of their
drawn out of
character.
them.
Yeah, like her interactions with Sam were weird.
Yeah.
like
Like was
really
she trying
weird.
to like convince him of something? I don't understand her character or the significance of her dying either.
Like, I almost think they didn't need her character and maybe introduce
Not at
her
all.
in the sequel. Like, the other guy, the guy who played Farshad, that guy was great too. The taller guy who was like his number 2 besides her. He's the one driving the getaway van.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that guy was good too. And then there was there was like the bookstore guy who was supposed to be played by Martin Starr, Albert Kassler, the guy who's like he's been searching
Yeah.
for Samaritan.
There are a lot
for,
of unexplored characters and stories in this, and I think that might be setting up for sequel.
It felt like it was trying to be in production like it felt like it had the same struggles that John Wick had in its first movie, which John Wick overcame better, meaning smaller budget. John Wick only has 1 or 2 major action scenes in that whole first movie.
Wow.
And they put most
know
of the
that.
budget into those. But because Chad Stahelski and the other people involved in that movie were stunt directors before they were regular directors, it comes out that they did a lot more with a lot less than they did in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this relied a lot more heavily on CGI because of the comic book element to it. But it would be interesting to see a sequel to this. I would be okay with seeing a sequel to this.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I don't know where you go for the sequel, but I would also be 110% okay if they just left it alone. But I would like to see something like this do well so that we can get more original properties. If they had taken an existing property and made this same movie, you would be a lot more annoyed because they're taking established characters and telling a story that isn't what it's supposed to be. Because this is a new story that's not based on any pre-established property, at least not that I know of, you're going to give it a lot more leeway, and I give this movie a lot of leeway.
The story was previously adapted into the Mythos Comics graphic novels by Mark Olivent and Renzo Podesta.
Okay.
That
not
doesn't
one that I'm
sound like
familiar
it's
with.
directly
But
from
there's
that
no
story,
there's
though.
no on-screen adaptations before this.
No.
One thing I loved is that Sam, the character of Sam, leans into everything with Stallone, and Stallone doesn't really lean in as well. He recoils, meaning that he stays fairly closed off, like you would actually imagine that relationship would be.
Yeah, he doesn't just spill everything all at
Yes,
once.
that my biggest problem is like a lot of dialogue always comes across as like that only happens in the movies, right? Like people only share those types of intimate, really, really like heartfelt things in the movies, or once or twice in their lifetime you might have that type of very, very heartfelt, emotional connection with someone that you're not married to or a family member with. It rang true to me.
I like that he didn't just fully jump into being some kind of father figure for the kid.
Yeah. He also has the great thing where Sam steals his scrapbook. That, by the way, that scrapbook makes a whole lot more sense when you find out he wasn't Samaritan. Because like, why would he have a scrapbook of himself? Is he just weirdly like stuck
Yeah.
up? No, it's of his brother. So I hope that I'm not like one of the things we do with these reviews is like I was worried that we're skipping all over the place, but I don't really care. Like
Well-
it's not really supposed to be about giving you a concrete image of what the movie is. The best thing I can say is that if you're looking for something that is not treading over the same territory that's already been tread over, making modern day Hollywood choices of like unbelievable characters, or race swapping for the sake of race swapping, or gender swapping for the sake of gender swapping. Like I said, there's a like, I was talking to someone this weekend. I said, how do you make things more real, right? Like, okay, if you're doing a show about cops, right? One of the best things they can do is just make it like 75% or 80% dudes, because that's what the actual police department would be like. I don't want to watch it. Okay, let's make it about a bunch of people working a makeup counter. Is it going to be 60, 70% dudes, or is it going to be more women, right? There's a way that you can make something diverse without making it feel unrealistic to the world around you. And you don't know what it is about it that doesn't make sense, but you know part of it doesn't make sense.
If they let it take focus in the dialogue, that's the problem.
This one, it makes perfect sense to have a charismatic or attempted charismatic bad guy with an attractive, charismatic female number 2.
Sidekick.
That feels real. Even if you had swapped those two, that might feel somewhat authentic, but I don't really think so. Not in the same way.
It was good. I wouldn't say it was like an excellent movie.
Yeah.
But it's a solid recommend from me. What would you rate it out of 10?
6.5 or 7.
Okay.
That's on a skewed scale of like.
Yeah, I think me too. And that's like relatively high for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rewatch it. To be
Yeah.
totally honest, I would not rewatch it. I
If
would
I had
watch
been in a worse
sequel
mood,
possibly.
If I was in a worse mood, I probably would have rated it an 8 just for not being for how it's not woke.
I think it's a 6.5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a 6.5 or 7. I don't really know.
I think that there's enough problems with the narrative and the writing, and it does feel cheap. It looks like it was filmed in one city, like in one city
Well, it was
block.
filmed in Atlanta in probably a very like small.
They make
section of it.
very good use of like the same locations throughout the entire
Mm-hmm.
making of this movie. It's that same city block where he gives his speech.
And in between their apartments,
Yeah.
a lot.
That it's all the same. So
Mm-hmm.
it felt like it was made on a budget, but that's what I liked about it. So it works.
I appreciate low budget movies.
Yep.
Me too.
Even if you can tell they're low budget, I have some appreciation for that.
Well, it feels like you have to work harder.
You have
When
to
there's-
actually think about what you're doing.
you have to make-
instead of Marvel, where you just
there was
throw money at something and
there-
expect it to be good.
there was
Also, superhero movie, no woke stuff, 2022.
And another thing
That's
is,
cool.
you're not expected to know a bunch of obscure information about a character that they like pull out of the depths of a Marvel comic, or like you're not expected to know the lore of something that's like really like old and established. It's just a new thing that you had to like take for what it was.
like anybody can watch this one and understand
Yeah.
what it's about.
yeah.
This is probably the first movie that I've heard you guys talk about that I like didn't see, that I was like, I might watch this one. Just on the basis of having actors I like and being more original.
there's a great part when he's talking to the book dealer where he goes, "Oh, Samaritan just happens to live across the street and upstairs from you. That's convenient." That was great because it's like that is how does it. The story is that Sam has been looking for Samaritan his like whole life for a lot of years. He's been trying to find Samaritan. He's got his like weird the cork board of Samaritan stuff in his room was weird.
The
like,
bookstore guy or the
well, no, him and Sam.
both of them
Sam
have
took
their
down
own
the
version
poster.
of it.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
own wall of crazy. And then he tells the book dealers, like, he lives in the apartment across the street from me. And the guy's like, that's convenient. That is convenient.
And it was too convenient to be true because
but
it
they-
wasn't true.
But they pointed it out, at
Yeah.
least. Like, that. I mean, even him living next to Nemesis after
Yes.
being a fan
Obsessed
of
with Samaritan.
yeah, that's convenient.
Maybe the sequel will be like the return of Samaritan.
and then Samaritan
Or-
becomes the bad guy.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they chose Sam as his name. He's
Becomes Samaritan. Yeah.
to Nemesis.
Forged with hatred for his brother. That was a fantastic like that's what got me early on in the movie. It's so not
It's comic
pretentious.
book.
It's so not pretentious. And I love it. So
Yeah.
I give everyone I
Great
literally,
stuff.
I literally wrote that down. I go like or and then there was the other part where he says he beats up children. Like when they're talking about Samaritan, or I'm sorry, about Cyrus, right? Like they point out like beats up kids, and then they there was the one scene where the cop gets taken out by Cyrus, and Sam sees it early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do recommend it. I do think that they could have done a lot better with if they had had a more charismatic actor play the bad guy, and if they had been a little bit more in depth about why he felt so drawn to this character. So
I'm going to read a few of the super chats.
Okay.
Darth Doza said, Brett, Samaritan was a solid 6.5 out of 10. Peanut Gallery. Mary, top 5 Flyleaf songs, please. Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy. Bill Cipher.
well, we should all be. Well, we're not even
Haven't
on the gold
listened to
standard.
Flyleaf
anymore.
in a while.
I don't know if I have a top 5. I like Sorrow. I like Red Sam the most. Those two are really good.
I'm trying to remember the names of some of the songs. I had an album, but it was in like middle school.
I only like the first album.
What was their popular one? All Around Me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the really
obviously
popular
great.
one.
Really popular
I think
one.
those are a top 3 for sure.
And then is Cassie the name of the other song that's really popular?
From Flyleaf?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. When is Lacey Sturm gonna come back? I don't
Come
know.
back.
That band
Matt-
was cool though.
Matt
Girl's got a hell of a
said-
voice.
Why Cyrus show Nemesis chest tat?
Bro.
Bro has one on face.
Yeah, that was I didn't
Yeah,
catch
I
that
don't
until
know.
I was
He's
watching.
like, I'm different.
Yeah.
I have a chest tattoo as well, and it's much larger.
I'm-
And then he like puts his shirt back, like,
he makes a really funny
and then
comment.
makes the weird crazy eyes face.
Yeah, and he makes
which
the
doesn't
funny-
come back for a while.
There is like a little bit of a ham-fisted approach there. Where he's like, "No, man, we like Nemesis. Samaritan was just like a cop for the rich. Like he just
He was
protected
a
the rich people."
bootlicker.
But they didn't really make class inequality the focus of this movie. They made it
No.
just that everyone was poor, not that some people are rich and some people are poor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was good. That's
That's
what you should do.
interesting. Helm's Way. Well, that's different from Joker, right? Like Joker was the class difference
structure.
stuff in Joker was way more
Yeah, because
prevalent.
Wayne's, his
but that's
dad's-
because you have to draw upon the previous story. Helm's Way 1 said, "Hello Taylor, I'd like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty."
Oh no, I'm gonna hang up the
He just wants
headphones
to
and
chat.
take off.
1,000-Foot Defense said the toaster crushing scene was when I suspected the plot twist. There was a sense of deep guilt in Joe that Sam keeps praising him as Samaritan.
Yeah, okay. That's a good
I didn't see it coming at all. Maybe I am just bad at like paying attention to plot.
Like I mean I just kind of wrote it off as like he felt guilty about the death of his brother.
Regardless.
Yeah, like regardless of whether he's good. Like if you can still be a bad guy can die.
Yeah.
If you're a good guy, you
Doesn't
would
mean
still
he
feel
didn't love
guilt.
him.
Yeah. So like I said, they held that down pretty well. I also thought that the ice cream part was really interesting about how his body overheats. Like that was very comic book. Like how his body overheats when he's injured or whatever. Was that what it was? Like that's why he had to eat the ice cream to like cool his body temperature down. That was clever.
Yeah.
Also a great product placement for EDs, I think, because I think those were all.
They were.
I think it was all the same ice cream.
Okay, they were kind of tilted with the logo away from the
Okay, maybe
camera.
then it was
So
probably
I
something
wasn't sure if we were supposed
I
to
just
see.
realized I know who Helm's Way is. Also,
Yeah.
What's up, Helm's Way? We'll
Yeah.
talk later.
about your car's extended warranty. Someone said, "Mary, why am I expected to know the characters in a comic book movie? You're not, dear. Those movies are for fans, not casuals." That's not true.
It's
There
not how
are a
you're-
lot of
no.
people who casually watch Marvel films who are not Marvel fans.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think.
In
I
fact,
think,
that's the entire point.
if anything, the idea is that they just assume that the casuals won't care and they'll
Yeah,
just
they
like
don't.
it anyways.
And it's true, they
Yeah.
don't. But I care because,
Yeah.
like, I'm actually supposed to talk about movies and understand them.
Yep.
Bobcat said, "So if you were on an island and could only have one video game while you wait for rescue, what would you choose?" I'm not into video games. I don't know.
If you had to choose, I know what I'd choose.
I can't
What-
think of one.
Go ahead.
The Nintendo 64 Sarge's Heroes, where you
Ooh,
get to play
wow.
one of the little toy soldiers and run around a house shooting each other with flamethrowers.
What about Pokemon Snap?
I was never like, I know some people are gonna hate this. I was never that into Pokemon like after the TV shows as a kid.
Pokemon
I never
Snap
got
is
in
what-
the video games.
Pokemon Snap was great. It was about taking pictures of Pokemon. It
Oh,
was-
I forgot. Okay, I do know that one. That is like the chillest video game ever. But
from-
I like the excitement of setting things on fire.
mine would
Someone
be,
clip that, please.
Oh no.
Mine would be either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist or probably Contra. One of those two.
What, a Wii bowling? No, just kidding.
Okay. Should we move on? Let's move
Yes.
on. All right. Let's see here. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about J.K. Rowling because she finally spoke out about whether or not why she wasn't at the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter. So
Well,
she says
everyone thought it was because she's canceled.
because she's a TERF.
She's like, I
Trans
wasn't not
exclusionary.
invited. I didn't want to go.
Yeah, she's just like
I don't
she-
But
blame
is
you.
it like, you can't fire me, I quit?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Is it that?
I don't know if it's that or if it's like, is it like maybe she's just like, it'll be awkward right now because they're like all like talking
would
about
be.
me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's setting the record straight about why she didn't take part in HBO Max's Harry Potter's New Year's Day reunion special marking 20 years since the first film adaptation of Rowling's books was released. So basically, she says, while it was speculated that the British author had been left out of the special due to outcry over her controversial remarks on trans women, views that Radcliffe, Grint, and Watson have publicly made plain that they don't share, Rowling reveals in a new interview that she was the one to decline the opportunity. I just want to point out that, like, maybe this is why, like, you don't need to discuss this stuff on the internet. Like, you know, does it really, like, do you really want to have to go and have this awkward, like, stupidly awkward conversation with a bunch of children who don't agree with you because they don't know how to disagree with somebody without being polite? So it's like now she's got to go and explain herself to a bunch of kids. Like,
what kids do you mean?
Like her, like, okay, they're not kids, but Rupert Grint, Daniel Radcliffe.
They're not kids.
But
they're full-grown adults.
Compared to her, they're children.
They're just bitter.
Yeah, but we should hold them accountable as adults for
Yeah,
turning on
I
the
don't think
person
they're
who
kids
created
at all.
why they
So,
are
I
famous at
don't
all.
think they need to be like explained to. If she had attended this, yes, it probably would have been awkward because the internet drama was more at the forefront then. But would they have brought it up?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
I can see how she wouldn't want to go. Like, it's the whole making controversial remarks on biology to me is ridiculous. And like, I wouldn't want to go skate a contest where I was going to be treated badly, but not because I like wasn't allowed to. I would rather just wait till I'm in Israel to compete in a skate contest where people aren't going to act absolutely crazy and violent and act like you're a criminal for saying something blatantly obvious that most people agree with, but the internet will go wild about.
Thank you.
So it says,
I have a lot to say on this one.
Yeah.
when asked if she still remains in touch with the Harry Potter actors, including those who have expressed disapproval of her comments about sex and gender, Rowling said yes.
You mean the same actress that hates Jews and publicly tries to villainize an entire country of people and promote
Emma Watson?
genocide?
Emma
Yeah.
Watson, I see.
She's done all sorts of terrible woke
I didn't
stuff.
know that.
Jews know that.
Well, I mean, I was never a huge fan of Emma Watson because she always comes across as like.
She's always been annoying.
I liked Harry Potter as a kid, but I just think it's a shameful position to take. And I think J.K. Rowling has been pulled through the ringer for absolutely no reason, and people should get over themselves.
I think people should be having these discussions in person, not on.
It maybe would have helped.
Like that's my biggest thing is like,
I don't
look,
think so. Some people they're like in a cult-like mentality on this particular issue, and it's almost you have to avoid certain groups of people for your own safety. And when you talk about stuff like this, it's insane.
yeah, like I do believe that for the most part, you're better off having these discussions with people in the real world. You'll find more common ground that way. People tend to, like we talk about emotivism, they will attribute what you meant to, when you say something, they will attribute your intent no matter what you actually say. People will just dilute it down to whatever they want to believe that you believe anyways. So it's a lot harder to do that when you're talking to someone in person. The internet just lends itself to being able to that kind of deconstructionist mentality. And if she shared these same views with people at a mixer, or I don't know, where to famous British authors hang out with famous British actors. I don't know. But if she was to share these views with them in a private setting over a glass of what a famous British authors drink, Chardonnay, I think that they would have found a hell of a lot more common ground. And plus, the second you make it digital, she has to respond because then it's not just you reading. When she says it to you in person, it's just for you. When she says it on social media, your response is not just for her, it's for all the people you're virtue signaling to, all the people that you have to make that statement for. It's not communication, not in the truest sense of the word. It's projecting a view onto the world through what looks like conversation.
I think J.K. Rowling is like a real feminist. And I don't know about some of the other actors or what they've said, but Emma Watson is a fake feminist who's completely lost touch of what feminism is about and involves herself in political stuff that she knows nothing about, clearly.
I don't know if that doesn't make her a feminist.
I think they both involve themselves in political stuff they know nothing about.
What else has J.K. Rowling spoken on? I just know about the like, you know, I know what a woman is.
Like all before this TERF controversy ever started, she's always been heavy-handed on like inserting.
One of the reasons I have little I don't have as much sympathy for her is that she courted this audience.
Yeah, she courted an audience that looks for the woke stuff.
Yeah.
One thing,
And then once they didn't like, one thing she said.
Yep.
Now she is in this position where she looks like she's politically incorrect and like some kind of.
Which is the opposite.
I do remember as a kid thinking it was a little upsetting that the movies, and I'm assuming the books also, although I didn't read the books, kind of inserted some anti-Semitic tropes with like making like the banker guys like look like.
I didn't ever read the books or watch the movies.
It's stuff you wouldn't.
I wasn't
even
allowed
catch.
to. Not that I didn't want to.
It's stuff you wouldn't even
allowed.
catch if you didn't know what it was.
Well,
and I think
I
she
don't
has
know
spoken
if-
about not realizing that was kind of what it looked like. But as for like the being labeled a TERF and being a hateful person, I think it's completely inaccurate. And I applaud her for standing her ground. And yeah, perhaps she kind of had the woke audience because of other stuff. I don't really know about everything she said in the past, but like this one, even like if you're woke, this is just basic biology, and it doesn't mean you're against anybody. It just means that you value facts.
So it says Rowling said that she has a love-hate relationship with social media. It can be fun at times. While she appreciates the pub argument aspect of it, the author noted that there's no doubt that social media is a gift for people who want to behave in a malign way. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing about social media that's actually like arguing with somebody in a pub. Not in any real sense of the word. If anything, it's more about shouting slogans at each other from across a wide chasm and then not listening to what they shout at you so that you can just shout your next thing back at them.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know. I think that what she said regarding this issue is stuff that people need to say, because we're reaching a point in society where speaking the truth is like a hate crime. And it's ridiculous, and people need to not be afraid to use their voices and use their freedom of speech and state the obvious, because there's a lot of people, next generation of kids growing up, who don't have the same context that we have as adults right now of understanding why it's important to know just basic biological differences and why it can present issues. And it is an issue that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. So I think it's cool that she talks about it.
I don't think it's going anywhere either, because as long as those kids' incomes are tied to whatever the most recent politically correct narrative is, they can. I would argue that I bet you a bunch of those kids have much more nuanced perspectives. I keep calling them kids, but
You
they're not
keep
kids.
calling them kids,
They
and they're
act-
your
they-
age.
they act
they're
like-
your
but
age.
they act
Brett.
like, but they act like kids.
I know they
So
act
you
that
perceive
way, but
them
they
that
all
way?
do.
Okay, so as long as those people and their paychecks are tied to having a politically correct view, I would guarantee you that they have more nuanced perspectives in private than they do in public.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
And I don't think that's
I
ever
know
going to
so
change.
many skateboarders who message me privately, but they won't say anything publicly, or they'll portray that they're woke, and it's
So
It's
because J.K.
disgusting.
Rowling has a never-ending financial
Yeah.
security,
And she's older.
off of
and
her
she's older.
story.
She's old. She's like, I
And
don't
she's
care.
older.
She's old. So
then
And it's-
she
it's
can
Harry
say whatever
Potter,
she
like-
wants, kind of.
you can't just turn on Harry Potter. So many people love Harry Potter. It's like this classic.
You
thing
can't turn
for-
on Harry Potter, but you can turn on its author.
there's a hilarious like thing. It's like one of the Taking L's pages where it's like people who like hate J.K. Rowling now because they think she's a TERF. But
Yeah.
then they're like, how can I like take in the new Harry Potter, this or that, but not give her any money? So they're like, they like
You
source,
can't.
they
That's-
source like I found a used copy of the game here, and like the.
But then you're also then screwing over all of the rest of the people involved.
Yep. They
Not just her.
Well, they just say, "Well, I'm supporting Emma Watson. And
That's-
she's the wokest of the woke." So
That's the way
it's
that.
okay.
That's the best thing they
It
can do.
cancels it out.
This is why I say you can't be attached to these people's
Yeah.
views of the world. I get not wanting to support companies like Disney or these companies because of the things that they do, but when it comes to individuals, like I personally can't take it that seriously. Otherwise, you'd never buy. Like, there's so many actors that just say the funniest shit that I disagree with, but I don't want. I don't care about what they believe. I care about how good they are at their job.
I
Like,
don't think liking a movie or something
Yeah.
equates you to agreeing with someone on a particular stance they
yeah,
have.
nor should it. Like I said, I probably disagree with J.K. Rowling on most on a lot of things.
But you know what? I like Harry Potter more since J.K. Rowling spoke up about
There
this.
you go. She's going to get
I
the best
think
of both
I'm not the
worlds.
only one.
She's like the non politically correct, non woke crowd, which tends to have more money. Let's face it, the tends to have more money will support her, and the people that hate her are supporting her because they're like Harry Potter crack addicts who can't stop, and they need to keep doing it. So
Harry Potter crack addicts.
yes, they are. They can't say no.
What about the people who like hate her, but back in the day got like tatted with like
That must be embarrassing.
what is the
I guess they have to get it lasered
Hogwarts
over.
stuff?
That must be embarrassing for them.
It was in the first place.
Yeah,
But I don't
as
even-
if it shouldn't have been embarrassing beforehand.
I don't like the way that this sort of stuff is reported, where it doesn't even include what she said. It just says her controversial remarks.
Well, you can't rehash
Every
all of
time,
it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, but I don't
um,
think it's that controversial.
But they are controversial.
Is
They
it
are-
though?
yes, they
If there
are.
is controversy
you
surrounding
you don't
it.
think that they're controversial because you agree with her and we understand biology, but that doesn't.
I don't think
that
that.
doesn't
No, it's not because
negate-
I agree with her. It's because it's like
That doesn't make
it's-
it not controversial.
It's not
meaning
anything
society's
hateful.
unbalanced.
It's just about like biology.
But the fact that it's controversial is still a proven fact.
Thank you.
The fact that we're having this
Woo!
discussion is proof that it's controversial.
Yeah, true.
Like-
true.
It's ridiculous to me that this is
It's
controversial.
ridiculous that it is, but it is.
It's not controversial everywhere.
No.
I've traveled to
Oh,
places where there's no controversy
I'm
whatsoever
gonna
about
I'm gonna
this
read some
topic.
super chats.
Okay.
Caper2x said, Mary, if you want to understand Marvel, check out YouTube Emergency Awesome. He reviews the shows and delves deep into the comic book connections. Make mine Marvel.
And not. To
I knew
mention-
Caper2x was gonna come along and help.
The dude who runs Emergency Awesome has been doing it for years, and those he's if you want to get like a general, like a good kind of like how they do the things, they're like, here's all the things you need to know about this. You can get a good general breakdown of
Okay.
stuff on there. Yeah.
Do you understand this one from John Harrison?
Up, down, down, left, right,
You're
A, B, A,
supposed
yeah,
to-
yeah, I do. Yeah.
He said you're supposed to
It's
get
a cheat
it.
code.
Darth Doza said, sending super chats from my phone during tag up meetings makes me much happier than it should. What does
a
that
tag up?
mean?
What's a tag up meeting?
Yeah, I don't
Is that
know.
a work thing? Here, when me and Mary have a meeting, I just shout from one end of the room to the other. I'm like, Mary, we're going to cover this today. And yeah, that's how we have our meetings here.
Melanie Curvone said, just beat Pokemon Snap last night for the N64.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Also, on another note, not related to anything, Brett, you mentioned Steve Wallace a week or two ago. Did you see his wife passed away? R.I.P. Beautiful wife.
Yes. I had a very hard time getting through that video where he talks about.
It's a YouTuber, right?
He's a YouTuber. He does stealth camping videos. Really, like, I've been following him for a while. Like, I love that type of stuff. I love van life people and stealth camping and all of those things because they're so not my life that I'm living. But that was absolutely like I don't think I even finished the video, but it was just heartbreaking
Yeah.
to listen to.
Wow.
He just mentioned that like they went to bed and like he woke up and she had passed. There might be more details from it now, but it's just
I hope it wasn't like totally unexpected.
It sounds like it was
I
pretty
don't know.
unexpected, but I'm not
That's-
super familiar with this
that's
channel. But I had that video recommended to me, and I knew I'd kind of seen him before.
he had just hit 1 million followers
Wow.
like just
But-
recently.
That's very tragic. May her memory be a blessing, and I hope that him and his loved ones are getting through this as best as they can right now.
And really, the part that's almost the most heartbreaking is if you like, this guy is not some it's not like some controversial YouTuber, right? He's
Well,
not some dude with controversial takes. He's just a dude who goes
Yeah.
camping, and he has this very, very like warm, like
That's just, bad things
Yeah.
happen to good people, unfortunately.
Yeah, you could tell that he loved her very much.
Did you watch it? Did you watch?
I watched the beginning of it. I also had a hard time getting through it. It is a very upsetting topic.
Wait, had you watched his videos before?
I had I think I'd seen them sometimes pop up,
Yeah.
and then when I saw that video pop up, I was like, "What is this about?"
That's
and
almost
it had
scarier.
a lot of views, so I clicked on it, and it sucked me in. But obviously, it was very sad it's sad to hear anybody talk about that. Like, even if you don't know somebody, that is such a horrific thing to go through. I can't imagine. I've never gone through something like that, but like the video had me feeling very emotional about it. You saw it. I hope that they're doing okay.
What's craziest about that is like that's like a world we live in now where it's like not even somebody that you follow, and you just your first experience with this person is them talking about the passing of their wife.
Yeah,
like that's a thing.
I hate the internet for reasons like that.
That's something like, isn't that insane?
Well, I'd seen his videos pop up on my recommended before, but that was really all of it. But I think, I mean, we're all human.
But imagine you met this guy in real life now afterwards.
I don't like that.
That's
at
a
all.
stunt. Like stunted way we've like how we've turned human communication. Like, hi, person I've just met, and you realize that the first time you ever heard them speak was talking about the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to them.
I wonder what that's like to have to explain a situation like that you're going to be away because of tragedy. Yeah. I feel like you don't owe it to anybody, but no. I mean, it sounds like he's very close with his audience and wanted to. I've been very
forthcoming about my addiction issues and the passing of my mom, both here, IRL, on my Instagram and things like that. So there's when you've developed like a relationship of sorts with people in that way, but there's still a lot of distance between you and the people you're sharing it with, where it doesn't. Like, it's almost easier to do for me to do it there than it would be to do it with a group of people in person, right? Like, because it's a nebulous. You're putting it out into the ether. You're not necessarily sharing it with, There's something about doing it in person that almost makes it so much more deeply personal. That as personal as you're being online, it's not quite the same thing.
Bobcat said, buy Taylor a pint because she likes flamethrowers, and that's hot. Pun fully intended.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Bobcat.
Thank you, Bobcat.
I don't know if we should be saying I like flamethrowers too much. That people might take that out of context.
I told them to clip it. So.
Clip it.
Bad app, I'm not reading that.
She's not reading that bad app.
And I'm not reading that one either.
There's one more. From
Bad app? Yeah.
Nope, no, there's
Bad
one more.
app.
There's a different... Yep. Oh, Porco Rosso Forever said, I didn't return my car today because Mary is a bad influence and I've been radicalized. Let's go.
Let's go. Cartcast. All right, we're gonna move on, guys. We're gonna talk. Do you want to just do Johnny Depp?
Yeah, let's go to Johnny Depp.
Okay. All right, we got one more. Johnny Depp makes the world's most bizarre appearance at the VMAs, guys.
It was not bizarre even because we actually fell for it. We fell for the trick.
Well, I didn't fall. Yeah, I did. I mean,
I
didn't fall. Like, I just didn't know what it was.
It's meant to be misleading because, like, he wasn't at the VMAs, guys. They had somebody
this is so creepy.
in a spacesuit.
That's him.
With, like, a projection of his face on the helmet. And it wasn't actually him. And he was, like, strung up on the ceiling.
Kylie.
It's so creepy. Look at that.
I'm more impressed by how bad the video quality is in this.
And, like, I just don't understand what kind of comeback this is supposed to be. I find it cringy and, like, weird.
I bet you would get copyright claimed if I played the audio.
You can't, yeah.
But basically, it felt more like they were insulting him than...
It does, and I want to know if he, like, signed off on this, or was it just intended to make headlines off of his name?
He basically says he once again joked about being desperate for employment. He goes, I want to let you guys know I'm available for birthdays, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, weddings, wakes, any old thing you need, you name it.
Funny.
And he says, I'm also a dentist. Like, it didn't feel... real.
Yeah, that's making fun of, like, him coming back to the industry and, like, getting jobs again.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. It's very weird.
I feel like he didn't sign off on this and they're kind of just mocking him.
If it's a deep fake? Like, it's like just a deep fake of his voice and his face?
You don't think he was involved in this?
Quite
happening?
Possibly. I don't know. Like, if he was.
No, it says he shared. It says, meanwhile, Depp was apparently thrilled for his blink and you'll miss it comeback, taking to his own social media to share a clip from the VMA ceremonies with the caption, guess who? What if he didn't watch it? And then he shared it thinking like...
he's being made fun of. I feel like he's being laughed at and not with.
Yeah.
Of course, they also added
or
the
is he
entire
laughing
rehashing
at himself?
I can appreciate if it's self-deprecating humor. Like if he's like, look, that's, that
I guess.
it says-
I think that like ever since the end of that trial, the memeing of it is so much worse than anything it actually was.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just like undignified
It says,
for him, I think.
So they say like later on during Depp's final performance, things got even weird. He once again joked about being desperate for employment, and then they go down here. It says many fans appreciated Depp's self-deprecating humor, and they took to Twitter to show their support. However, other MTV viewers, also the fact that they're still MTV viewers is kind of shocking, was confused by the randomness of it all. While many Heard supporters were downright appalled that that Heard's alleged abuser had been invited to participate in the VMAs broadcast in any capacity. Well, you can't have somebody who's been accused of something. That's not right. We have to just ban them from society based on allegations alone.
It's crazy that the same reaction that threw Johnny Depp off of the, that blacklisted him. The same Me Too-esque reaction that blacklisted Johnny Depp from his career opportunities is now exactly the same one being inflicted on Amber Heard. It's if you've been accused of something, you are not human.
Yeah, I kind of thought what happened with that whole trial is they both kind of got canceled in a way.
Regardless of who is actually in the wrong in these private situations.
Same thing's going to happen with Shia
We
LaBeouf
didn't learn anything. Yep. We didn't learn anything as a collective society from that trial. We became worse people from that trial, I think.
Shia LaBeouf and FKA Twigs, it's going to be like the same thing.
It's shrinking and forgetting.
Yeah, we're not going to evolve at all as a society. So that's the way it is, guys.
Awesome.
Mary, I believe there's one more super chat there.
Yesh said, I returned 3 stray hearts and shouted Mary to the sky.
Yesh.
I didn't hear you.
I'm not Mary, but I may not always put everything back when I'm in the store, but as a former cart pusher, I thank you for your kindness and your shouting of Mary's name to the sky. We appreciate that.
I used to return my carts, but I feel like
I wouldn't admit this. You're about to get.
I have
now
no problem
I
with
want
it.
to try
If you
it.
return your cart, I'm just not going to return my cart.
No, I want to try to leave my card out just for the thrill of it one time. See
Like,
how it feels.
It's like
I want to know what it's
you'll
like
get
to
addicted.
be Mary.
It's like I'm too good of a person to dine and dash, but I'll certainly cart and dash.
I'm gonna do it like while an employee is in the parking lot getting the carts and just make eye contact with them.
I'm picturing you like giggling as you run away because you're so.
I did something bad.
Perfect. While doing something bad, Taylor, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you on social media so they can yell at you for not returning your carts?
You think that's bad for me to promote my social media?
No, I'm saying when you do something bad, they can find you on your social media and yell at you for not returning your carts.
If you'd like to come hate on me on social media, no, just kidding. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at TM Silverman or on Instagram at Taylor May Silverman.
They're going to come there and tell you to put your cart back. It's what they're going to do.
Wait.
Mary, where can they find you?
You can come and send me hate on WeChat or Instagram at Closer Kitty. And whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there. We don't have a comment section on timcast.com, by the way, so you can't send me hate there.
So send it directly to her
Directly
personal
to my
socials.
inbox, please.
She would prefer that. Got any articles in the works?
Yeah, we're talking about Shia LaBeouf tomorrow. I know we told you guys we were going to talk about it today, but I just I felt like we needed to let it sit a little more. I needed to think about it more.
Today's would have been even more depressing if we had.
I didn't want it to be so heavy today.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Shia LaBeouf converting to Catholicism tomorrow.
And I have found those topics to be weirdly, as somebody who's not religious, very, very uplifting. So we're going to get into that tomorrow. Guys, we got one more super chat there.
Caper2X said, adios, Taylor. Vaya con Dios.
God
Mary,
bless.
be good. DC boy. Nothing for you, Brett.
No, I'm DC boy.
And adios.
I'm DC
Nothing,
boy.
not a goodbye,
No,
nothing, just not a have a good day.
That's what I am here.
All right, cool.
I get no
Cool.
respect, as Rodney Dangerfield would say. I'm chopped liver here. Guys, if you want to follow me on Instagram and tell me how great I am for putting my cart back, you can, at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, every day, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would rather listen rather than watch, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. We are also on social media, Twitter @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok @popculturecrisis, and on Instagram @popculturecrisispod. Go there to follow and yell at Mary for not putting her cart back on all of those platforms. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.